Marvel. Rescue Iron Man's father at the beginning. Chapter 81. Malekith leads a Dark Elf attack on Asgard. Their tactic is very clear. First, the most elite cursed warrior breaks into Asgard's dungeon and releases criminals, causing riots, attracting the attention of Odin and Asgard warrior, and diverting the tiger away from the mountain. In the air, dagger fighters took advantage of the gap between the damage of Asgard's energy shield, shuttled and grazed the capital, gained air supremacy, and fired down intense artillery fire. On the ground, the Dark Elves were aggressive. Facing the invasion of the Dark Elves, the Asgard warriors fought against the enemy bravely, wielding their weapons. Odin and Thor took the lead, in addition to the patron saint Heimdall, the goddess Sif, the executioner Skullchini, and Fandral, Vostag, Hogun, who are known as the three warriors of Asgard, all devoted themselves to this for battle. Their enemy, the Dark Elves, have pointy ears, no beard or eyebrows, deep-set eye sockets, and a white face that is almost demonic. It is worth mentioning that they also have a powerful secret weapon, the Black Hole Grenade. When the grenade is detonated, a black hole will be opened and the surrounding creatures will be devoured and directly decomposed. This secret weapon caught many Asgard guards off guard. Clang clang clang. Chi chi chi. Da da da. The sound of gold and iron clashing and the roar of guns can be heard endlessly, and the battle between the two sides is also extremely fierce. For Walter Alheim. Swear to protect Aesir God realm. The shouts and roars on the battlefield shook the sky, resounding through the Aesir domain, and the air was filled with the smell of blood and gunpowder smoke. In the dungeon, Thor wields Thor's warhammer and wrestles with the prisoners who escaped from prison. Rebellion. However, when Thor walked out of the dungeon and saw the huge giant cross spaceship invading the sky above Asgard, his resolute expression could not help but change slightly. There were dagger fighter planes flying out of the spaceship continuously, pouring into the capital one after another, raging violently. That's Malekith's spaceship, a mobile sky fortress. Heimdall, Sif, and the three warriors of Asgard looked up at the sky. Their high fighting spirits seemed to have been poured with cold water, and their hearts sank. The energy shield that defended Asgard has failed, and the Dark Elves' spaceships and fighters have gained air supremacy, and the Dark Elves also have secret killers such as black hole grenades and cursed warriors, making it difficult to parry. Look, what's that? At this moment, the goddess Sif suddenly exclaimed. The three warriors Heimdall and Asgard also followed Sif's voice and looked up. After Thor summoned lightning to beat up the two Dark Elf guards, he also looked intently, and his dim eyes suddenly lit up. I saw a rainbow streaking across the sky, blocking the way of the giant cross spaceship. The majestic Colin stands still in the void. His handsome long hair flutters in the wind, his robe flutters, and his imposing manner is extraordinary. Going up is like a banished fairy descending. Shish. Laser cannon fire was fired from the giant cross spaceship. Just when these laser artillery fires were about to hit Colin, wisps of purple flames emerged from Colin's body and quickly covered his whole body, blocking those laser artillery fires. At the same time, a stern look flashed in Colin's eyes. His hands were constantly changing like rolling wheels, and he was chanting obscure spells. The light. Come out, extraordinary dragon. In the next moment, 10 colors of light burst out from the ring, merged in the void, and turned into a solid extraordinary beast. This is a four-clawed flying dragon that is covered in green and green. Its huge body is hundreds of feet long, and its spread wings are even 1,000 meters long. The shadow of his eyes, the eyes of the file-size like lanterns are fierce, and the rows of sharp teeth are like canine teeth, ferocious, very deterrent. The extraordinary dragon, huge amounts of dragon body compared with the dagger fighter is like a fly meeting an eagle, even the huge cross-shaped spaceship is not far behind. Of the 10 rings in Colin's hands, each ring contains a unique ability, and after they are combined and chanted, they can even summon the ring spirit sleeping in the ring, Fanlong. Extraordinary dragon, go, you have been silent in the Lord of the Rings for too long, show your might in front of the world. Colin said to Fei Filong calmly. As if he understood Colin's words, Fei Filong respectfully nodded his huge head. With the violent roar of the extraordinary dragon, the thunderous roar shook the whole field, deafeningly deafening, and resounded throughout the Asgard god realm. Immediately, Fanfanlong raised its giant claws and grabbed a dagger fighter that passed by. The latter was easily crushed like a fly, and there was no room for resistance at all. I read it right. This ferocious beast crushed the Dark Elf's fighter plane so easily. Seeing this appalling scene, the three warriors of Heimdall, Exorbitant, and Asgard swallowed deeply, couldn't help but gasped, their eyes that were about to burst were filled with disbelief. Look. Is this the dragon from the Flame Kingdom? As for Thor's pupils shrank suddenly, and his heart was awe-inspiring. The extraordinary dragon in front of him reminded Thor of the dragon of the flame demon Surta. But to be precise, this terrifying beast summoned by Colin is even stronger and more terrifying than the dragon, and it is difficult to compare the two. It's hard to imagine that there are such powerful creatures in the world. How many tricks and secrets are hidden in Colin's body? It's unbelievable. Even the face of Odin, who was guarding the temple, showed a lot of fluctuations. He always thought that the ring Colin was wearing was for decoration, but he didn't expect to be able to summon such a terrifying ancient beast. It's shocking. At this moment, God King Odin glanced at the eight-legged horse in the beast pen. For some reason, he suddenly felt that this beast that accompanied him to fight the universe was not good. Odin and the Asgard warriors were shocked by the extraordinary dragon. Also feeling horrified were the Dark Elves flying the dagger fighter plane, they were also dumbfounded. Where did this terrible monster come from? Crushing a fighter plane is as easy as chopping melons and vegetables. What happened to the Nine Realms during the thousands of years that their Dark Elves have been sleeping? Seeing this situation, they hurriedly flew their fighter planes around the body of the extraordinary dragon, wishing they could avoid it far away. But how could Fei Filong give them this chance, and turned around suddenly, and the thick dragon tail behind him swept out like a steel whip. Bang bang bang. Accompanied by deafening roars, those few dagger fighters were violently blasted by the tail of the extraordinary dragon without exception. The flames surged, the smoke filled the air, and then turned into a sky full of parts waste slag drifting down. What kind of monster is this human being summoning? In our plan, this mysterious human being and his perverted pet were not included. Thousands of years have passed, what happened in the Nine Realms? Could it be that our fighters can only be reduced to fish on the chopping board? The Dark Elves in the giant cross spaceship were completely shocked by the scene in front of them. Their already fair and almost eerie faces became even paler, dripping with cold sweat, and even their breathing was almost stagnant. Quick, use the black hole grenade. At this moment, a cursed warrior with armor, horns on his head, and blue face and fangs suddenly thought of something, and shouted loudly. Is a small-scale black hole, because the weapon is made on the principle of ether, which can convert all matter into antimatter. When the grenade is detonated, a black hole will be opened and the surrounding creatures will be devoured and decomposed directly, regardless of the file size. The cursed warrior was the first to throw a black hole grenade. The rest of the Dark Elves who reacted also followed suit, taking off the black hole grenade from their waists and throwing them towards the extraordinary dragon. Suddenly, a large number of black hole grenades that were about to detonate rained down on the behemoth that occupied half of the sky, and the strange and deep black hole that was created seemed to pull it into the endless black hole of time and space. Seeing this situation, a fierce light flashed in Fei Filong's eyes, and suddenly he vibrated his wings, and a shocking hurricane swept out from under his ribs. Ha, ha, ha. The harsh and violent hurricane swept across in all directions with a destructive force, engulfing the black hole grenades that fell and turned back along the original path, and detonated in the next moment. Zzz. With the explosion of antimatter energy, before the Dark Elves had time to scream, they were swallowed up by the black hole grenade thrown before, and turned into dust and annihilated in the Nine Realms. The aftermath of this hurricane caused the Asgard building to shake, and the Asgard warriors including Thor and Heimdall only felt the gust of wind blowing against their faces, and the weapons in their hands were almost blown away. It's so scary. Colin's beast is too shocking. A random storm can cause such a powerful destructive force. The world-destroying storm in Legendary is nothing more than that. Thor tightly held the Thor hammer in his hand so as not to let it be blown away by the wind. Odin, who was sitting in the temple, hurriedly urged Odin's divine power to cover the entire temple, because he was worried that this indestructible temple would really be blown down by the extraordinary dragon. After a long while, the terrible hurricane, which was comparable to the world-ending storm, subsided, but everyone still had lingering fears when they recalled the scene just now. HMPH, is this the ability of this monster? It seems that it is nothing more than that. The cursed warrior with blue face and fangs crawled out from the bunker behind the spaceship, and said disapprovingly. Cursed warrior is a super warrior transformed by dark elves absorbing the energy of ether fragments. Its constitution and resistance are far superior to ordinary people, and its strength can even reach 4 or 5 times that of Asgard warrior. Oh, really? Isn't it a wise choice to anger an ancient beast? Colin twitched the corner of his mouth, and said with a bit of joking. Colin's words were like a thunderbolt ringing in Cursed Warrior's ears, and Cursed Warrior suddenly had a sense of foreboding. He looked up, and at some point the extraordinary dragon had approached the giant cross spaceship, staring at him with a pair of frightening dragon pupils like lanterns. Hiss! A gust of cold air rushed from the soles of Cursed Warrior's feet to Tianlongai. His heart seemed to be pinched by a pair of invisible hands, he couldn't breathe, his mind was trembling, and he was shivering. The next moment, Fifanlong opened its bloody mouth, and spewed out a blazing dragon flame as thick as a millstone, instantly enveloped in Cursed Warrior. Ah! Amidst the wailing screams, the Cursed Warrior was burned to ashes by the blazing dragon flames, and even penetrated the spaceship, leaving a shocking hole. As Colin said, pissing off a dragon can have dire consequences. Immediately afterwards, the extraordinary dragon fought against Shenwei, waving its huge dragon claws, vibrating its 1,000-meter-long wings, and continued to strangle the Dark Elves and Dagger fighters. Even the giant cross spaceship was ignored by it. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. The dragon fights in the wild, ferocious and tyrannical. Every blow contains overwhelming power. In a blink of an eye, more than a dozen Dagger fighters were destroyed, countless Dark Elves were killed, and even the giant cross spaceship was riddled with holes and crumbling. Under the nourishment of soul power, you are much better than before. Colin stepped forward and stroked Fei Filong's head, and said happily. You know, this extraordinary dragon was originally sealed in the ring by the ancient venerable power because of its destructive power, which shows how terrifying it is. Before that, Colin also used the 10 Lord of the Rings to summon an extraordinary dragon once, but neither the size nor the power could compare with the current one. This is closely related to the soul power of the Ring Master. The stronger the soul power of the Ring Master, the stronger the extraordinary dragon will be. After reaching the peak, it can even surpass the level single universe, and it can be destroyed by just flapping its wings a planet. In response, the majestic Fei Filong rubbed against its owner Colin quite affectionately just now, as if a big pet was begging in front of its owner. The style of painting suddenly changed. With such huge amounts of contrast, people can't help but click their tongues. Thanks to the power of the extraordinary dragon, it destroyed many Dark Elves' air power one after another, helping Asgard regain the air supremacy. Seeing this situation, Thor, Heimdall, Asgard warriors and Sif and other Asgard warriors cheered up their morale, took advantage of the situation to counterattack, and killed the Dark Elves without leaving any armor, and the latter showed a tendency to be defeated. Head. After the extraordinary dragon opened the situation, Thor and Heimdall and other Asgard warriors took advantage of the situation to counterattack, defeating the Dark Elves one after another, and achieved an overwhelming victory. In the corridor leading to Frigg's bedchamber, Malekith saw the majestic dragon and the army of Dark Elves, and he couldn't help but panic. But he quickly suppressed the anger in his heart, and kept in mind that the mission of attacking Asgard this time was just to deceive others. His real purpose was to divert the tiger away from the mountain and take advantage of the chaos to seize type particles. As long as he gets type particles, he will dominate everything, and the 9 kingdoms and even the entire universe will return to Chang'e as he wishes. Thinking of this, Malekith's eyes showed fanaticism. He walked through the long corridor, opened the door and came to Frigg's bedroom. The person he was looking for was indeed here, Jane Foster, besides the Queen Frigga. Seeing the dark elf who broke into the bedroom, Frigg and Jane Foster's pretty faces changed. Don't go any further, I can spare you from dying. At the moment Frigg was wearing a silver military uniform, and, 577, guarded Jane Foster behind her, holding a dagger in her hand and warning the intruder. You can't do anything to me, woman. Who are you? Lord of the Dark Elves, Malekith, come to retrieve my things. As he said that, Malekith approached Jane Foster step by step with fierce murderous intent. In order to protect Jane Foster, Frigga swung a dagger that shone with a blue cold light and slashed at Malekith, wrestling with him, but was quickly pinched firmly by the cursed warrior Atlan, who broke into the bedroom stuck on the neck, unable to move. You took my stuff, now it's time to give it back to me. Malekith bypassed Frigga, and slowly walked towards Jane Foster, who was in a panic, with a palpitating evil light flashing in the deep-set eyes like a ghost. Just when Malekith reached out to touch Frigga, intending to take back the TIE particles, Jane Foster turned into a cloud of light and shadow and disappeared into the air. Phantom. Malekith turned his head and looked at Frigga fiercely and scolded loudly, where is the ether? I won't tell you. Malekith ordered the cursed warrior to kill Frigg, but just like the Jane Foster, just now, Frigga also turned into light and disappeared suddenly. It's two illusions. Malekith's pupils shrank suddenly. These two people are not real bodies, but illusions. Papa, congratulations, you answered correctly. The real bodies of these two people have been transferred away long ago, you are late. With the sound of clapping hands, Colin and Odin slowly walked out from behind the curtain. People of Midgard, Odin, why are you here? Malekith saw this scene full of surprise and disbelief. Shouldn't they, an Asgard warrior, be distracted by the commotion in dungeon at this moment? We have been here all the time, just to wait for the rabbit. Colin raised his eyebrows slightly and said coldly. Colin had already seen through everything and was the first to remind Odin, and this is a good show they put on for Malekith, the purpose is to invite you into the urn. Shua, Shua, Shua. I saw a few figures flickering, and Thor, Heimdall and others who had just quelled the intruders' battle also rushed to the bedroom after hearing the news. Seeing the scene of the confrontation between the two sides, they couldn't help but look confused. What happened? What's the matter? All of this is thanks to Colin's reminder, otherwise I will fall into your way. Odin stroked his bushy gray beard and explained to the unintelligible Thor. Hearing this, he looked at Heimdall with some uncertainty, and Heimdall shook his head at him, indicating that he had just learned about it. It's true that they were all kept in the dark, but they didn't have time to think too much. The most important thing now was to deal with Malekith and the cursed warrior in front of them. Seeing that the situation is not going well, Malekith is about to run away, but Thor and Heimdall will not let him succeed. They have already surrounded him to block his way. Malekith waved his hands suddenly, releasing treacherous dark energy. Thor couldn't help but wield his warhammer, and with the burst of divine power, an arc of lightning like a silver snake slashed at Malekith, blowing up half of his face. Malekith covered half of his ruined face, screaming in pain. Roar. Seeing his master being attacked, the cursed warrior with green face and long fangs let out an angry roar, raised his fist as big as a cattail fan, and ran rampant in the bedroom like a space-time train, trying to break the boat and fight a bloody road. Despicable thing, how can you allow you to be presumptuous in front of this king? I saw Odin flicking his wrist lightly, swinging the eternal spear in his hand. A beam of condensed and sharp gun light killed him directly, and a black hole grenade fell from his blown body. A stern look flashed in Malekith's eyes, and he picked up the black hole grenade on the ground, activated it and threw it towards Colin and Odin. Careful! Thor and Heimdall both exclaimed in unison. This grenade black hole is a small-scale black hole, because the weapon is made on the principle of ether, which converts all matter into antimatter. When the grenade is detonated, it will open a black hole and directly decompose the surrounding creatures. Many Asgard warriors suffered from this black hole grenade just now. The grenade exploded, and the dark black hole split a small space, rotting the surroundings, as if to swallow up everything nearby. Small tricks, nothing to worry about. Colin snorted disapprovingly. He made a tactic with both hands, and created a mirror dimension with his bare hands. The mirror dimension of Lu Li is equivalent to another dimension independent of the real world, not bound by space. With the emergence of the mirror dimension, the small black hole was swallowed up in the blink of an eye like a mud cow entering the sea, and it was frozen in the endless vortex of time and space, just like the reflection in the mirror. Can't cause any harm or impact. Crack. The next moment, with a deafening crisp sound, a crack appeared in the mirror dimension, and then it shattered together with the black hole in the mirror, turning into nothingness. The horrifying scene came into view. Thor and Heimdall took a deep breath, both couldn't help showing shock, and at the same time breathed a long sigh of relief. Fortunately Colin was there, otherwise if the grenade black hole was completely destroyed it is really unimaginable to detonate. Even the king of God Odin's complexion changed slightly. He wiped out a small black hole with his bare hands. This ability is comparable to the law of causality. For a while, he summoned a dragon that can stir up a world-ending storm, and then he used a skill comparable to the law of causality. What kind of abilities does this Midgard man have? Deep background. More importantly, Colin is still very young now, and has unlimited potential in the future. The future is limitless. Unlike Odin, although he is a god king, he is already old after a long time and is about to die, is no longer as brilliant as it used to be. The last secret weapon was also easily deciphered, which made Malekith's heart sink to the bottom of the valley, and his face turned ashen. The outside of the bedroom has been surrounded by Asgard warriors, not to mention Colin and Odin are besieging here, and it is completely impossible to leave. Malekith rolled his eyes, and suddenly begged for mercy to Colin. Please let me live, it's all because of my obsession. From now on, the Dark Elves will never cross the Thunder Pool. However, Colin's expression was indifferent, full of chilling intent. Seeing that Colin was indifferent, Malekith looked at Thor again. Thor, you probably don't want your Earth 1.1 girlfriend to be sucked out of life by type particles and die. I have a way to crack it. Hearing Malekith's words, Thor couldn't help showing hesitation, as the other party said, if the type particles were allowed to possess Jane, she would be in danger. Just when Thor was about to feel pity, Colin said calmly, I have my own way of dealing with this matter, so I don't need you to worry about it. You can fall into hell with peace of mind with the repentance in your heart. Colin has already thought of the way to crack type particles, or in other words, the real way to crack is to kill Malekith and cut off the last ties between Malekith and type particles. Only in this way can type particles be truly the ownerless thing, easy to control. As the words fell, a light flashed in Colin's hand, and Agamotto's spear shot out like a dragon, piercing Malekith's chest in an instant. Oh no. The next moment, amidst the heart-piercing wailing, Malekith's body was instantly bombarded and his life was truly plunged into eternal darkness. Kaelin shot and killed Malekith, and a generation of Dark Elf lords fell like this. The sneak attack planned by him was thus disintegrated. Looking at the falling blood rain all over the sky, everyone in Asgard was in a daze. After a while, Thor came back to his senses, looked at Colin and Odin with some fear and said, Father, why didn't you tell me about your acting together? In Thor's view, this plan to invite the king into the urn is indeed too thrilling. Heimdall and the others can be forgiven for not knowing this plan, but even he was kept in the dark. The less people know about this matter, the better, otherwise it will reveal flaws. Colin put Agamotto's spear into the Lord of the Night One, and explained calmly. Although Colin said so on the surface, he couldn't help complaining in his heart. Why didn't I tell you that I didn't have an AC number in my heart? As the most valiant god of thunder in Asgard, Thor is supernaturally powerful, but his ingenuity is impressive. Even though he has matured and stabilized a lot through these years of experience, he is still a bit impatient and reckless, unable to hide things, so he did not inform him of this plan. Other side. However, it was also thanks to Thor's most authentic reaction that they were able to complete this performance and lure Malekith to invite him into the urn. So that's how it is. Thor showed a sudden look. No matter what, they finally succeeded in crushing the 15 plots of the Dark Elves, and guarded Asgard fulfilling their mission, otherwise the 9 realms will usher in another catastrophe. Cough cough. Accompanied by a violent cough, Jane Foster and Frigga walked into the bedroom from the outside. Jane, mother, are you all right? Thor stepped forward to ask. Fine. Jane Foster shook her head, forced a smile, but her pale face couldn't hide her weakness. The type particles residing in Jane's body have been greedily absorbing her vitality, and as time goes by, Jane's vitality is also slowly passing away. At this time, Thor's mind echoed Colin's words just now, and he said to Colin with a look of expectation, Mr. Colin, you just said that there is a way to save Jane, is it true? As soon as these words came out, the eyes of Odin, Frigga, and Heimdall all focused on Colin. Jane's eyes lit up when she heard this, as if she had grasped a life-saving straw. Facing the scorching gazes of everyone, Colin calmly said, Yes, type particles or reality gem, one of the 6 rough stones left before the Big Bang, which cannot be destroyed, and because it is related to Ma there is still a trace of induction and bond between Lucas, so it cannot be taken out. Now that Malekith is dead, and the last ties with him have been severed, this problem is easily solved. Thor was refreshed after hearing this, and he cupped his hands to Colin and said in a pleading air, "Then please Mr. Colin save Jane's life." "All right, what I'm waiting for is your words." The reason why Colin worked so hard to plan this drama of inviting the king into the urn, and then cut off the fetters between Malekith and TIE particles, was for this moment. "Then I'll try." Colin pretended to hesitate for a moment and walked in front of Jane. He stretched out his right hand and approached Jane Foster's face, and then gently tapped the center of her forehead with the resetter ring on his thumb. The TIE particles in Jane's body didn't bounce Colin away. On the contrary, the TIE particles began to be excited and restless as if they had met their own kind, which made Jane Foster's body surface a layer like fiery red magma. The halo, erratic. At the same time, Colin's ring of the resetter also began to buzz and vibrate, and shone with brilliance. The light flowed, very dazzling. The two echoed each other as if they had received some kind of strange resonance. TIE particles, that is, reality gem, can turn a person's ideas into reality without exaggeration, and can also distort reality into illusion. And the ring of the resetter, its role is to reset and combine objects on a subatomic level. In a sense, both are a kind of reorganization of natural substances, which can alter the boundary between reality and illusion, and go beyond the existence of physical law. It can be said that there is an inextricable connection between the two. Even with the same origin, they can integrate with each other. After a preliminary trial, Colin began to activate the resetter's magic ring, chanting an obscure incantation. The ring of the resetter was shining brightly, emitting strong energy fluctuations. Next moment, under everyone's amazed gazes, Jane Foster's body trembled, and then strands of TIE particles pulled out of her body like scarlet and sticky blood, and then flew to Colin's body. A trace of TIE particles lingered around Colin's body, cheering and dancing freely, and the roar of reality and law intertwined and soon set off the blood-red color of the entire Asgard temple. Boom. Immediately afterwards, countless scarlet TIE particles suddenly poured into the ring of the resetter as if they had received some kind of guidance. The entire bedroom and shrine have been restored to their original state, but the ring of the resetter, which incorporates TIE particles, is glowing scarlet. TIE particles were completely poured into the ring of the resetter, becoming a brand new ring of reconstruction. At the same time, Jane Foster, who had been stripped of TIE particles, also Shenyi Ned, and collapsed limply like a collapse, and was sent to rest by Frigga. And Colin's figure also swayed slightly, a little dizzy, feeling as if his physical and spiritual strength had been drained. No matter how strong his soul power is, after summoning the extraordinary dragon and absorbing the reality gem one after another, he is still very tired. His physical strength and soul power are almost exhausted, and he needs a good rest to recover. At the moment, the red color of the Lord of the Rings was reappeared, and the simple and peculiar lines emerged on the surface, shining brilliantly, which made Thor, Heimdall and even Odin focus on the ring. Odin clicked his tongue in amazement, and there was a rare greed in his cloudy and deep one-eyed eyes. "I didn't expect this ring to have such a magical effect. It even absorbed the TIE particles left before the Big Bang 517. These two, both of them are extraordinary things, and when they integrate together, they are even more powerful." Colin stroked the brand new reappeared Lord of the Rings lightly, and then said to Odin meaningfully, "God King, I will accept this reality gem, as you know. You already have a space gem in your Odin treasury, so it's better not to get too close to the two infinite gems." After hearing Colin's words, Odin restrained the greedy look in his eyes, and nodded irrefutably. "That's true, it's better to keep the two infinite gems separately, otherwise, I'm afraid there will be side effects. The 6 infinite gems left over from before the Big Bang have supernatural powers beyond imagination. Collecting 6 infinite gems can make a huge impact or change on the entire universe according to the user's own wishes. If such a treasure falls into the hands of someone with ulterior motives, the consequences will be unimaginable. And because it has the characteristic that it cannot be destroyed, the best way is to disperse them and spread them all over the universe, so as to prevent them from happening." So Odin quickly understood Colin's implication. Each of the two parties has an infinite gems, and no one should play the other's idea. As everyone knows, Colin has another thing to hide from Odin. That is, he has collected 2 infinite treasures in total now. In addition to the reality gem just obtained, there is also a mind gem, which is embedded in the Lord of the Gods at this moment. Infinite gems are not suitable to be put together, the best way is to scatter them. From Odin's point of view, it is very appropriate for reality gem to be kept by a wise and brave man like Colin. Unbeknownst to Odin, Colin has already collected 2 infinite gems of mind and reality. This is his secret and naturally he will not reveal it to others. Colin, thanks to you this time, you helped the Aesir gods domain and even the 9 major countries to survive the catastrophe. On behalf of all the people of the Aesir gods domain, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to you. Odin put his hand on his left chest and saluted Colin slightly, his slightly hoarse words showed gratitude. It was Colin's help that saved Asgard from disaster. Among other things, if Malekith breaks into this bedroom without any precautions, then Odin will lose a wife who loves each other, and Aesir god realm will lose a queen who is the mother of the world. Thor and Heimdall on the side also expressed their thanks to Colin. It's just a little effort. Colin waved his hands disapprovingly, then said jokingly with the corners of his mouth raised. But having said that, your defense line is still a bit fragile. The seemingly impenetrable defense line was unexpectedly broken by the Dark Elves with ease. This is a bit unreasonable. It's definitely fortunate that your restless son of the evil god was not released by the cursed warrior who sneaked into the dungeon, otherwise it would have been even more difficult. In the original book, Malekith led such a raiding team to tear up the Aesir defense line with the strategy of diverting the tiger away from the mountain, and went straight to Wonglong, and then killed Frigg. And this time, even though Aesir god's domain was on guard, the defensive ability shown was not satisfactory. As soon as the words came out, Thor and Heimdall looked at each other with expressions on their faces. Odin couldn't help but shook his head and smiled wryly, thinking that people are hard-pressed. What can I do? I am also very helpless. After all, not everyone can raise a tyrannical dragon as a pet baby like you. But this time Aesir god's domain was easily broken through the line of defense, and those people in the god's domain's defense department are really to blame. At this moment, Odin has secretly decided that he will question these people one by one later, and will not tolerate it. As for Loki, it seems that it is not enough just to be imprisoned in an underground prison, and a secret prison must be specially built for him. Odin smiled awkwardly, changed the subject, and the fairy light in his palm turned around, and a piece of fluorescent paper appeared in his palm, and he handed it to Colin. This is a fragment of the card of life. Next time you have something, if you need help, you just need to crush this piece of paper, the King of God will go there. As the King of God, Odin has a very high self-esteem, and he doesn't like to lose money to other people's favors, so he wants to give generous gifts to express his gratitude. Life paper. Seeing this, Colin's eyes could not help but light up slightly. There are many artifacts in Odin's treasury, and the card of life is one of them. This piece of equipment comes from the Atlantis continent of Midgard. On it, there are profound meanings of vitality. What is amazing is that its fragments conceal a part of the life and soul power of the original owner. As long as it is crushed, the original owner can be summoned once. This thing is much cuter than Luca advanced in One Piece. Okay, then I'm not going to be polite. Colin wasn't polite to Odin either. After taking it over and looking at it carefully, he felt the divine power of Odin sealed inside, and then threw it into the ring of the Nightcaller for storage. There must be many things waiting for you to take care of after this battle, so I won't bother you, goodbye. Now that Colin has got the reality gem, there is no need to continue to stay in Asgard. Definitely the most important reason is that he is really afraid that Li Ding will meet with Bao Qi to start reality gem. Although it is said that after a long battle, the old Odin no longer has the heart of conquest, and he mostly shows people with a benevolent face, but who can tell clearly? So the night is long and the dream is too much. Colin still thinks it is better to get out of the way first. Odin nodded after hesitating for a moment. Okay, if that's the case, then I'll keep it. Heimdall, you go and open Bifrost to send Mr. Colin back to Midgard. Of order. Then, Colin and Hyder left Asgard and headed towards the teleportation hall. Watching the back of Colin's departure, Odin's bright eyes froze for a moment, and he regained his previous majesty. Let the people from the defense department come to see me. After the battle subsided, God King Odin summoned the generals of Asgard to the temple, listened to the damage and follow-up of the battle, and gave instructions. As the defense department with heavy responsibilities, they are slow to respond to the attack of the Dark Elves, and their weak defense must be to blame. In addition, people should be sent to clean up and repair the damaged God's domain buildings. After issuing a series of instructions, Odin sent away the rest of the generals, leaving only Thor in the temple. My son Thor, you are commendable for your bravery and tenacity in this battle. Apart from Colin, you have contributed a lot. So what should I use to repay our new king? On the steps of the main hall, Odin held the Spear of Eternity on the ground, staring at the heroic Thor in the main hall, full of relief. It can be seen that compared to the previous reckless warrior, the current Thor has matured a lot and is capable of taking on great responsibilities. My life, father, I can't be the king of the Aesir God realm. I will fight for the Aesir God realm and the 9 kingdoms to the last moment, but I can't perform my duties on the throne. Facing his father wanting to pass on the throne to himself, Thor said from the bottom of his heart. I don't know how to rule. To be a king is to be cruel and ruthless. Bloodshed and sacrifice can change people. I would rather be a good man than a great king. Is this your voice? Yes, I am more suitable to be a warrior than a king. While protecting Asgard, I also hope to travel and exercise in the 9 realms to protect Midgard and even the universe with the Avengers and other partners. A son dreams of being a king, a son would rather give up the throne. Is this what I want? I can't give you my blessing. I know. At this time, the two people have nothing to do with the monarch and his ministers, but a sincere disclosure between father and son. After speaking, Thor turned around and walked out of the hall. The next moment Odin's deep and generous voice sounded behind him. I am proud of having such a son. I have already let the Dwarf King of Nidavi design a mold to create the most powerful Stormbreaker in the history of God's domain. You can refuse the throne, but please don't refuse your father's kindness. Thank you, father. Thor stared deeply at Odin, and said gratefully. Nidavi, one of the 9 kingdoms, may be the most sparsely populated of the 9 kingdoms. There are only 300 dwarfs living on this barren planet. Although the number of dwarf clan is small, all of them are good at forging magical weapons. Their patriarch, King Dwarf, is even more outstanding and known as a master craftsman in the universe. The dwarf clan has always been a vassal of Asgard and has been protected by it, and in exchange, the dwarf clan will be responsible for making magical weapons for the Asgard warriors. Not long ago, the god King Odin ordered the dwarf king to design a mold to create the strongest weapon in the history of God's domain, the Storm Hammer. In response to Odin's order, the Dwarf King dared not neglect Yi Nuohao, and continued to design and forge it day in and day out. On this day, King Dwarf suddenly felt a mysterious person flying across the starry sky Ni Tianwei. Stopping the movement of forging the artifact, the Dwarf King looked up at the Void Dragon. Suddenly, a domineering floating throne appeared in the sky above the desolate Nidawi, and a burly titan with purple skin and a strong and powerful figure sat on it. He has a large vertical-lined chin, and usually wears blue and gold clothing with gold shoulder armor and gold ankle boots, and a blue and gold helmet with a jewel on his forehead. It looks like he is the overlord of the world, able to surpass hundreds of millions of creatures. Behind him also appeared a powerful fleet, quickly blocked the entire Nidawi with the momentum of Lei Ling. Who are you and why did you come to Nidawi? The Dwarf King looked at the other party with a vigilant face. You don't need to know who I am, you just need to know that the next thing you have to do is to make another copy for me according to the Infinity Gauntlet in Odin's treasure house, otherwise I will burn Nidawi to the ground. The figure of purple sitting on the floating throne said lightly. Shua. A 7-colored beam of light landed on the top floor of the new Stark building. After the 7-colored aura faded, Colin reappeared in the bedroom of the villa. Back again. Colin murmured. Although the Aesir god's domain is very magnificent, but in comparison, Colin is more used to staying in the Blue Star. Having said that, Aesir god's domain has benefited a lot this time. Colin not only learned the eternal marksmanship from Odin, but more importantly, he also got 6 infinite gems, the Reality Gem. The Reality Gem and the Ring of the Resetter are integrated to become a brand new Ring of Reconstruction. Colin rubbed the reappeared Lord of the Rings on the thumb of his right hand, feeling cold and clear, the real law intertwined and converging, glowing with scarlet and deep light. It looked very strange. With a thought, Colin flicked the empty cup lightly. The next moment, Coke appeared out of thin air in the cup, and it was still bubbling. Then Colin had another thought, and the cup and Coke turned into foam and dissipated in the air. Alter the boundary between reality and unreal. This is the ability of Reality Gem. Colin's eyes lit up involuntarily. The initial power of TIE Particles 623 may not be strong enough compared to other infinite gems, but every time the ether swallows a world in the 9 realms, its power will increase exponentially. When the ether swallows the entire 9 realms, its power is enough to make the whole universe returns to Long Yi, and there is still a lot of room for improvement. Moreover, the Ring of the Resetter can also maximize the increase of Reality Gem and increase the success rate of Alter Reality. Before he knew it, Colin had collected 2 infinite gems. The first Mind Gem, his idea at the beginning was very simple: don't let it fall into Thanos' hands. Even if you touch an amulet, you won't be wiped out by a snap of your fingers. At that time, it was very simple to be satisfied, and it was enough to have one as a protection. When it came to the second Reality Gem, Kai Lin Yi was also a little dazed for a while, and his heart was filled with ambition, and he couldn't help but fantasize about other infinite gems. People are greedy. Colin is no exception. You know, infinite gems is almost the most powerful treasure in the universe. Its function is equivalent to the Dragon Ball in Dragon Ball. It can help the convener realize any wish, just like an editor of Marvel World BFEJ. Just one thought can change everything permanently. This is truly following the law and expressing great ambitions, and it is an ambition that affects the entire universe. It can be said to be very powerful. Compared with the rookie who just traveled over more than 10 years ago, the current Colin is no longer what it used to be. Relying on the tyrannical strength of the Heavenly Father realm, supplemented by 2 infinite gems and many means, even looking at the entire blue star, it is almost invincible. The only ones who can break the wrist with him are the existences like Ancient One Mage and the Berserk Phoenix, which undoubtedly belong to the top group. However, Colin's vision doesn't just stop here. Looking at the entire dimension of the universe, there are many other powerhouses in the level universe. Thanos, Serta, Frostloff, Collector of Elders of the Universe, Ego, Dormammu, Silver Surfer, Captain Marvel, Phoenix Force of the Universe, Galactus, Death, Eternity, Infinity, Annihilation, and even those who rule the universe order and lawful life court. In real comparison, the Earth is just a drop of water in the infinite Wangyang compared to the universe. It is too small, and the endless dimension of the universe is the real danger. If nothing else, just talk about the Tenjin group. In the original book, when Collector Tanya Tiwan told Star-Lord about the Celestial group, he always showed a strong sense of fear. As an ancient god race in the universe, the Celestial group is a group of gods with a strong desire to control. They will wantonly intervene in the evolution direction of certain planets, and often transform the local indigenous people. After hundreds or thousands of years, the Celestial group will return to some planets to test whether the level of civilization is up to standard. If the development direction of this planet conforms to their standards, then the life on this planet will escape a catastrophe. Otherwise, the Celestial group will think that this planet is not worth continuing to develop, and will destroy this planet. And the scene that Collector showed to Xingju was the scene where the Weishan group used the Luang gem to destroy the inferior civilization. Such a Protoss who can take life and death, and dominate the existence and extinction of a certain planet, is it powerful enough? But looking at the original book, apart from the self-proclaimed living planet Igo, I have never seen other living gods. Only a huge head of a dead god group was found in the void of the old lair of the favorites. So here comes the question, where are these arrogant celestial groups who wantonly interfere with the evolution of the planet? According to the existing clues, these celestial groups are likely to be wiped out by Thanos' ancestors, the Eternal Race, or other powerful races. Feng Shui takes turns. There is no eternal overlord in the universe, and one mountain is higher than another, which shows how dangerous it is. Maybe there are many cosmic gods spying on the Earth in a certain area beyond the heavens at this moment. Therefore, Colin still needs to become stronger constantly, at least at the level of the universe, so that he has the ticket to step into the universe stage. Strength is king, and this is the unchanging theme of the Marvel world. But the trip to Asgard was exhausting for Colin. Firstly, he used the 10 Lord of the Rings to summon the commanding extraordinary dragon, and then integrated TIE particles. Even though Colin has a strong life and soul power, he can't stand such consumption. The next step is to relax and take a rest. Thinking of this, Colin quickly made a call. After a while, Susan the Invisible Woman knocked on the door of Colin's room. I don't know if it's Colin's illusion. Not seeing Susan for a few days seems to add a bit of temperament, which makes people's eyes shine. What I have to say is that under the action of cosmic rays, not only did Susan have powerful super abilities such as invisibility and protective shields, but to some extent, her appearance and temperament were also greatly improved. Well, it's pleasing to the eye, which makes the natural beauty of Susan even more amazing, making her feel different. In the following time, Colin and Susan stayed together, enjoying a peaceful city life. At the same time, he also learned about the recent movements of the Fantastic Four from Susan. Susan's younger brother Pillahuo and Stoneman are still the security guards of the new Stark building. They are responsible for the security here. And Mr. Fantastic Reed is researching something called a diamagnetic inverter, which is said to be able to eliminate the effects of cosmic rays on them, allowing them to return to their original state. After all, it is difficult for the Stone Man to accept his ugly appearance after turning into a rock. Hearing what Susan said, Colin immediately understood that the plot was about to start, and by then, the Fantastic Four would have a fight with Doctor Doom. Out of good intentions, Colin reminded Susan, by the way, be careful of Doom's interference, so as not to affect the new Stark building. With the passage of time, half a month passed without knowing it, and the delivery date of a new batch of Pacifist PX that completed production also arrived. Mr. Colin, thank you for your help with Mutant, it really saved us from fire and water. Mutual benefit is all. As you said, humans and mutants must live in harmony to achieve a balanced state. At the handover banquet of the Xavierability Junior Academy, Colin clinked glasses with Professor X, Jean Grey and others, and drank the whiskey in the glass. After more than 10 years, Colin came to Xavier's school again, but this time he came with 20 pacifist PXs that just rolled off the assembly line, numbered PX 410 to PX 430. So far, the total order of the Pacifist PX series is nearly 700 units, and the mutant group, which is in desperate need of shelter, has become the biggest seller. According to the 180 division, the purchaser of Pacifist PX, there are less than 300 units in the human camp, and more than 300 in the mutant camp, and there are more than 40 units in Xavier's school alone. Thanks to such a check and balance, the human camp and the mutant camp maintain a delicate balance. For mutants, they are like patron saints, and humanoid weapons that combine defense and counterattack are enough to make them invincible. Colin sells mutant security. In Mutant is to give back a lot of dollars, and it also indirectly expands the influence of the Stark Enterprise. So Colin would also like to thank Professor X for these mutants. It is worth mentioning that Magneto's Brotherhood is the second largest customer of Mutant after Xavier's school, and it has also created wealth for Colin. But for these mutants with extraordinary abilities, the last thing they lack is money. The handover banquet took place in a cheerful and friendly atmosphere. Colin chatted with old mutant friends like Jean Grey, Professor X, Wolverine, Cyclops, and Storm, talking about the changes over the years. Perhaps because I haven't seen her for a long time, Chingelei's beautiful eyes will always glance at Colin intentionally or unconsciously. On the lawn, lively mutant students played and frolicked around rows of 7-meter-tall pacifist PX, with light laughter from time to time. They are invincible humanoid weapons in the battle mode, but in the common state, they are like the honest and gentle smart bear uncle, who will also play with the mutant students. Professor, there seems to be a lot more mutant students in the academy. Colin pointed to the number of mutant students who were twice as many as 10 years ago, and said to Professor X. Yes, over the years, Xavier's school has grown in influence and scale, absorbing more and more mutant students. Professor X nodded in disbelief. Time has left traces on him, but the friendly smile is still so warm. Combined with the new Mutant Act, many mutants who were isolated from the human world bravely faced up to their identities and poured into Xavier's school. There are also such elites as Jungtu, Blink, Sunspot, Colossus and so on. Quote. Everyone looks out for each other and helps each other. It can be said that Mutant is more united now. Hearing what Professor X said, Colin frowned slightly, and couldn't help feeling, the changes in the past 10 years are really great. This is a stage where the old and the new alternate. Back then, Iceman, Little Rascal, and Burning Man were still a group of immature teenagers, and they have gradually become the backbone of X-Men. The veterans of Cyclops and Storm took over the baton handed to them by Professor X, and they played more tasks of teaching and training new X-Men. The only thing that remains unchanged is Professor X, the spiritual leader, who is like a kind old father, taking care of every member of the mutant family, working hard to maintain this mutant utopia. The atmosphere of this handover banquet was good, but among the X-Men crowd, Colin keenly perceived a disgusted look. Pa-Ruo, the Burning Man, drank wildly with a wine bottle, drunk, and became emotionally unstable. Under the surprised gazes of the people, Pa-Ruo staggered towards Colin, and at the same time said, HMPH, what kind of human beings live in harmony with mutant, dirty human capitalists? You are clearly searching for us in a disguised form. Money. As soon as these words came out, the original atmosphere of the banquet was interrupted, and everyone followed the voice and looked towards this side. The Burning Man. Pa-Ruo is your so-so boy. Colin narrowed his eyes. This guy was originally a 25-year-old kid in the original book, but because he didn't agree with the concept of Professor X, he couldn't use his tyrannical fire control ability at will, so he took refuge in Magneto. However, with the butterfly effect triggered by Colin, Professor X and Magneto did not finally break, so the trajectory of the plot also changed accordingly. The Pyroid at the moment has not joined Magneto, but continues to stay in Xavier's school, but looking at him like this, he seems depressed and blames all his dissatisfaction on others. In Xavier's school, there are two completely different attitudes towards human beings, some are more optimistic, while others are very hateful. Pa-Ruo was extremely annoyed by the drunkenness, he flicked his wrist and threw a fireball towards Colin. It's ridiculous that even a petty trick dares to play tricks in front of me. Colin sneered, and directly slapped lightly, relying on the palm wind to extinguish the flames. Pa-Ruo also flew backwards because of the strong wind. However, Pa-Ruo was indomitable, and wanted to come over to make trouble when he got up. At the moment, Iceman and the Little Rascal rushed to persuade, but to no avail. 0.2. Iceman's palm gushed out icy cold air, trying to calm Pyro. Mr. Colin, please don't be angry, he is drunk, that's why he is messing around like this. Little Naughty came over and said apologetically. Colin, on the other hand, looked disapproving. His anger is not so cheap, just like a male lion, how can he care about the provocation of mosquitoes? But at this time, Chingele beside him was very angry at Pa-Ruo's actions, and her aura also soared violently. Then, under everyone's astonished gazes, behind her suddenly appeared the phantom of a phoenix, accompanied by a loud and terrified scream, resounding through the entire Xavier's school. Pa-Ruo's rude confrontation with Colin made Jean Grey fall into anger. The spiritual cage that bound her brain showed signs of collapsing, and she was on the verge of losing control. Chingele's face showed pain, her eyes burst into red light, and her hair, which was as red as magma, stood up one by one, dancing wildly in the wind, and the breath around her couldn't stop soaring. Crazy. The next moment, with a loud and mournful cry of a phoenix, behind Chingele rose a fiery phantom of a phoenix, exuding a majestic and terrifying aura. Phoenix Force. Professor X's muddy pupils shrank suddenly. Even though he was always lenient, he couldn't help scolding Pa-Ruo. Look at what you did, you awakened a terrible demon. Phoenix Force comes from the original universe, born at the beginning of all things. Chaos is immortal, eternal but impermanent, the sun of the universe, it is the embodiment of life and spiritual power in the original universe, symbolizing life and emotion. The eternal Phoenix Force is evenly distributed throughout the universe in a fragmented form, and Chingele is the possession of the Phoenix fragments on the Earth. Phoenix Force can be chaos immortal. At the same time it is also one of the 15 most fearsome existences in the multi-universe. Its passion can be turned into phoenixes ruling to rebirth or destroy everything in the universe or even the universe originally. In order to restrain Jean Grey's Phoenix Force, Professor X deliberately imposed a spiritual cage on her, But as time went by, the cage was on the verge of collapse, and the stimulation of killing people became the last thing that crushed the camel. Straw. How could this happen? I didn't mean to. Pa Ruo was frightened and stupid, and only then did he wake up from his drunkenness and realized that he had caused a catastrophe. It was the first time for Iceman and the others to see this posture, and they were astonished and had an ominous premonition. I didn't expect Phoenix Force to go berserk at this moment after going through all kinds of difficulties and obstacles. Seeing this, Colin couldn't help but shook his head and muttered in a low voice. He didn't expect Chingri to run away because of protecting himself, and he didn't know whether to be happy or speechless. Everyone, get out of here quickly, the farther the better. Professor X loudly shouted to everyone. He had seen the power of the Phoenix Force before, and knew that he was a terrifying existence that could destroy the world. As soon as these words came out, those mutants who were in a daze realized it. The thick-skinned Wolverine and Colossus took the initiative to step forward, keeping everyone behind. Storm Girl's eyes turned white, and she manipulated the power of the storm to circle the nearby mutant students away. The flickering opened a time-space gate, and the students of mutant entered one after another, and the next moment they appeared in an empty place 1,000 meters away. Jean, calm down. Professor X pressed his temple with one hand, and the strange mental psychokinesis was running, trying to bind the psychokinesis to Jean Grey's brain again, but only a moment later, Professor X's body trembled violently as if he had been hit hard, and his arms were weak. It fell down. Professor, what's the matter? Cyclops asked Professor X. The mind cage is no longer working, the Phoenix Force is completely out of control. Professor X's voice trembled, and there was a hint of helplessness and deepness in his words. I saw the Phoenix Force on Chin Gele's body rising steadily, and a terrifying force centered on him, rolling and agitating in all directions. The cups and plates on the banquet were messed up and shattered one after another, the tables were overturned, and the lawn fell down like a strong wind. The substances in the air are dissociated, intertwined, ups and downs, and colliding. Phoenix Force lingered around Jean Grey, eroding and impacting everything around her, making it impossible for anyone to get close. It was as if a cluster of flames had been thrown into a barrel of dynamite, and it would explode at any time. The power of this explosion was no joke, it would wipe out the entire Xavier's school, and even the entire Westchester County. Professor X, your method is too gentle, it won't work against the tyrannical Phoenix Force, let me try. Colin patted Professor X on the shoulder and said lightly. Immediately after he turned his mind, a golden ray shot out from the Nightcaller ring. Pieces of Gold's armor pieces were dazzledly put together on Colin's body. Colin is wearing a Leo Gold holy garment, a golden armor with divine brilliance flowing, and a faint blue gemstone inlaid on the forehead, shining brightly, containing the power of the stars of the universe. Immediately, Colin walked towards Jean Grey under everyone's attention. Careful. When Professor X, Wolverine, Cyclops and others saw this situation, they all subconsciously sweated for Colin. Even the cowardly mutant like Little Naughty covered his eyes and dared not look at it. However, in the scene that happened immediately afterwards, they all showed unbelievable expressions. The field centered on Jean Grey crazily tore apart the surrounding things, making it difficult for anything to get close to it. However, with the blessing of the Leo Saint Cloth, Colin steadfastly carried the devastating impact, walking on the ground like walking on the ground, step by step towards each other. What kind of armor is this? It can withstand the impact of the Phoenix Force. It's too powerful. Scary. This armor doesn't look like a mortal thing, but it looks more like the holy clothes in ancient mythology. Only those who are destined by destiny can wear such holy clothes. Could it be that Colin is the destiny in Legendary? The eyes of everyone in Xavier's school were focused on Colin, shocked and stunned, their mouths were wide enough to stuff 2 eggs. In the blink of an eye, Colin traversed a distance of several feet and arrived in front of Chin Gele. Then, Colin's eyes flickered, and 263's right hand reproduced the Lord of the Rings and gently touched Chin Gele's eyebrows. Pata. The next moment, the raging and violent Phoenix Force disappeared, replaced by colorful bubbles rising and churning, then shattered and turned into countless broken foam floating in the air. Xavier's school was restored. It's as if nothing happened at all. Colin's eyes lit up. The ability to reproduce The Lord of the Rings, which is regarded as changing reality, is really powerful. In the original book, Thanos used the reality gem to play around with Star-Lord and others. Under the effect of reality gem, Star-Lord's pistol can only shoot bubbles. Mantis was transformed into a spiral shape. Similarly, Colin can also use the Lord of the Rings to change the reality of Phoenix Force's runaway. It is worth mentioning that, because the energy erupted by this Phoenix Force is too vast, it will take a corresponding amount of energy to change it. As the energy is exhausted, the Ring of Rebirth becomes dimmed and falls into silence. Everyone at Xavier's school was stunned. This is the end. Just lightly touching Qin Lei, the terrifying Phoenix Force was easily dispelled. What kind of operation is this? Qin Lei, who had lost the Phoenix Force, also collapsed instantly and fell down powerlessly, while Colin took advantage of the situation to stop the opponent's slender waist. Xavier's school medical room. Colin and the X-Men surrounded Jean Grey, who was lying on the sick bed. The nutrient solution entered Qin Lei's vein along the infusion tube to supplement her weak body with the necessary nutrients. The ECG and brain wave detectors were beeping. After treatment, Qin Lei's signs have finally stabilized. After an unknown amount of time, Qin Lei finally woke up from the coma. Seeing this, Colin injected a burst of true energy into Qin Lei's body. The soft true energy nourished the weak viscera and veins, restoring a tinge of blood to Qin Lei's pretty face in tea. Jean Grey, you're finally awake. The Storm Girl said excitedly, and the rest of the people also let out a long sigh of relief. The stone in their hearts fell to the ground. Am I making this mess again? Qin Lei slowly raised her eyelids, seeing everyone's worried and caring gazes, coupled with the vague fragments that appeared in her mind, she instantly realized something. She has been trying her best to suppress the Phoenix Force in her body, but unexpectedly, it still ran away uncontrollably. She subconsciously believed that the Phoenix Force had caused huge amounts of destruction, and Xavier's school might have been razed to the ground in the explosion, so she was full of guilt and remorse. Qin, put away your guilt. At the critical moment, Mr. Colin saved you and dispelled the Phoenix Force, so now everyone is safe and sound. As for Pow, who was rude to Mr. Colin, I have locked him up. In the confinement room, let him get the punishment he deserves. Professor X is like an old father stretching out his broad, wrinkled palm, and gently patted the back of Qin Lei's hand, persuading her not to blame herself for it. After hearing Professor X talk about the ins and outs of this matter, Qin Lei's jewel-like eyes showed disbelief. Relying on one person to disperse the Phoenix Force. This is too incredible. Even the fragments of the Phoenix Force contain the power to destroy the world. As the host of the Phoenix Force on the Earth, Qin Lei said again can't understand. But Colin just touched himself lightly, and let this terrifying power disappear invisible. Qin Lei blinked at Colin in front of the hospital bed, her slender eyelashes trembled slightly, and her beautiful eyes were full of surprise. After finally suppressing the shock in her heart, she said to Colin very gratefully, Mr. Colin, thank you. I hope the scene when I ran away didn't frighten you. It's not like that, I have encountered more terrible things than this, and this time is not bad. Colin smiled. The Chitauri's invasion, the Hexagon and Tesla's siege, that time was not an unusual one. But in the end, the danger was saved as before. Wolverine and Cyclops looked at each other, both of them could see the disappointment after being compared to each other. Although they have always been envious of Colin, they have to admit that Colin is getting more and more courageous, as if nothing can defeat him. Yeah, you have seen these big scenes often, no wonder you can be so calm. The corners of Qin Lei's mouth were raised, and her smile was like a flower. She was amused by Colin's words, and the original psychological burden soon disappeared. This scene was seen by Professor X, he couldn't help squinting his eyes, and proposed, Qin, do you want to go to the outside world to see? The outside world. I think Xavier's school is fine. Qin Grey blinked her eyes, and said something inexplicably. After she finished speaking, she subconsciously glanced at Colin. No matter how good a home stays for a long time, it will be boring. It's better to go out for a walk more, open your mind, and relax your tense emotions. As long as you keep yourself relaxed, Phoenix Force will not be able to take advantage of it. It's time. But where can I go? It's so far away, Mr. Colin, isn't it? You have immeasurable properties all over the world, and you probably wouldn't mind giving Jean Grey a place to live in October. Professor X looked at Colin meaningfully. As a person with a delicate mind, Professor X can see through Jean Grey's current thoughts at a glance. What she needs most now is the nourishment of love, and this is not what Xavier's school can give. You old fox. Facing Professor X's meaningful gaze, Colin narrowed his eyes and thought to himself. It seems that the old fox wants to throw Jean Grey, a hot potato, to himself. Definitely no wonder the old fox would have such a proposal. After all, the aged Professor X could no longer restrain the Phoenix Force in Chingelei's body. For the current method, only Colin can crack it. Whether it is to reproduce the Lord of the Rings or the Lord of the Soul, it can restrain the rampage of Phoenix Force. The former can modify the reality of the Phoenix Force's rampage, while the latter can suppress the rage factor in Jean Grey's brain. With a firm mind, the tyrannical Phoenix Force definitely can't take advantage of it. Thinking of this, Colin nodded and said. The professor also made sense. Going out to broaden your horizons is good for soothing your mood. If you don't mind, you can return the appointment with me. Quote. Chingelei's lips were tightly pursed, and her pretty face was stained with a blush, but she still nodded and accepted the proposal. After the delivery was over, Colin's trip also came to an end. Without further ado, Colin made a trick to create a portal, then picked up Chingelei, who was on the sick bed, and walked towards the portal. Before leaving, Colin did not forget to tell Professor X that he should not forget to transfer the follow-up payment for the purchase of the Pacifist PX series into the account, and then stepped into the portal under the watchful eyes of the X-Men. Qian Zhao. The next moment, Colin and Jean Grey came out from the other end of the portal and came to the new Stark building. As soon as Colin returned to the company with Jean Grey, his assistant Mike came to report that Nick Fury had come to visit. Nick Fury, what's the matter with this corned egg? Colin couldn't help but frown and murmured. You know, this guy also belongs to the existence of going to the Three Treasures Hall for nothing. He is not staying in S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. What is he doing here? Is there any new trend in S.H.I.E.L.D.? He patted Chingelei lightly to let her familiarize herself with the environment here, and then went straight to the reception room accompanied by Mike. The moment the door was pushed open, Colin's eyes lit up slightly. In the reception room, besides Nick Fury, his younger brother Tony Stark was also impressively listed. When Colin walked into the reception room, he found that not only Nick Fury was present, but Tony was also here. It is worth mentioning that Nick Fury's only sparse hair was completely shaved off, and he returned to the classic braised egg shape in the original book. The difference is that his eye was not blinded by the Yuan Devourer. At first glance, I still feel a little uncomfortable. Colin snapped his fingers, the nightcaller ring on the little finger of his right hand flashed black, and an extra bottle of wine appeared out of nowhere on the wine cabinet. Upon seeing this, Mike came forward to open the wine bottle, and handed the full wine glasses to the three of them. What a special wine. It tastes very sour, but the moment it enters your throat, you can feel a refreshing sweetness. Shaking the quiet green wine in the glass, Tony took a sip, his eyes sparkling. To say that Tony, who often goes to balls and banquets, can be regarded as an expert in wine tasting, but it is also the first time he has drunk such fine wine, which is quite different from what he has drunk before. This wine is indeed something special. Nick Fury also smacked his mouth enjoying himself. This is the special wine of Asgard, that is, the country where Thor is. Colin explained with a smile. Tony, if my guess is right, it should have something to do with the strange celestial phenomenon 600, right? That's right, as you can see, this matter has come to an end. Colin nodded, and then said with a raised brow, okay, let's get straight to the point. What are you two talking about today? What should you do? It's not as simple as coming to my place for wine tasting. Quote. Having said that, Tony raised his chin at Nick Fury. Nick Fury coughed and said seriously, okay, let's get down to business. We are here this time to invite you to join the Avengers. Come on, I'm not interested in taking orders from you, S.H.I.E.L.D. Colin spread his hands. Who doesn't know that although Avengers is a superhero team, it was created on the basis of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it will inevitably be constrained and restricted by government departments. Mr. Colin, please think about it. Then give me a reason that can convince me first. If you want to say something that is high-sounding, that's all. As you know, Chitauri's invasion is a wake-up call and a prelude. In the vast universe, there are countless alien races who are eyeing the Earth. These must be guarded against. I think Shellian needs a strong man like you. A strong leader. Nick Fury said earnestly. At this time Tony also took the words and said, yes, looking at the whole world, you and Carol are the ones who can really carry this banner. Carol is still maintaining order in the galaxy at the moment, and can bear the burden. You are the only one left with this responsibility, and even Steve is willing to give up the captaincy to you. Colin couldn't help but rolled his eyes, glanced at Nick Fury, then looked at Tony, and said angrily, you guys treat me as a flatterer, you just like to pat me if you have nothing to do. This Nick Fury is really a chicken thief, and he brought Tony together as a lobbyist. The two of them sang together, daring to praise themselves to the sky. This is not flattery, it's just seeking truth from facts, and I hope you will carefully consider our proposal. Having said that, Nick Fury and Tony watched Colin nervously and anxiously, waiting for his reply. Tuck tuck. Colin tapped rhythmically on the armrest with his fingers, nodded after a little pondering, okay, I accept your proposal. After a while of deliberate weighing, they agreed to Nick Fury and Tony's proposal. The reason for this decision is also due to Colin's own considerations. One is for the sake of my younger brother Tony, lest he be caught in the middle of embarrassment. The second is to lean against a big tree to enjoy the shade. Before Colin was a straggler, acting on his own will. But looking at the Marvel world, don't they all pay attention to grouping? Isn't Guardians of Galaxy, Alliance of Defenders, Midnight Suns, Illuminated Hands, etc. all typical of grouping? Fighting alone in the Marvel world will not achieve much success, and this is also the general trend. Even the life court of the Supreme God needs the help of the left and right hand of the Lord of Order BFDA and the Lord of Chaos. It may be possible to rely on K-Lin alone, but if it is focused on the height of the Milky Way, or even the entire universe dimension, then relying on the strength of one person is still too weak. Even if he will become the thickest thigh after joining the Avengers, Colin can also use this in exchange for some benefits. Great, Mr. Colin, it would be a wise decision. Nick Fury's eyes flashed brightly, and he tried his best to suppress his excitement, because he was waiting for Colin's butt. Sure enough, Colin went on to say, however, as a condition for joining, I also have to make 3 chapters with you S.H.I.E.L.D. First of all, I must have absolute freedom, and I need the core secrets and advanced authority of your S.H.I.E.L.D. and even the International Security Council. Nick Fury rubbed his swollen eyebrows, feeling a little headache. Sure enough, it's not that simple for a strong man like Colin to join, and it comes with a series of prerequisites. The first condition is easy to say, the big deal is to give Colin more free space, and some small tasks will naturally not bother Colin easily. As for the second condition, it is somewhat beyond Nick Fury's authority, and it is not something he alone can decide. Nick Fury shot Tony a begging look. Facing Nick Fury's eyes asking for help, Tony also shrugged his shoulders helplessly, as if to say, it would be nice to get my brother to agree to join the Avengers Alliance, isn't he satisfied? One must know that the 3 major powers of the Avengers Alliance, including Tony, are not worth mentioning in front of Colin. If Colin joins, then the entire Avengers will undoubtedly rise with the tide, and it will be even more powerful, enough to raise it to a higher level. Just when there was a subtle atmosphere in the reception room, a bang from outside the building interrupted the silent atmosphere. Both Nick Fury and Tony came to the window and looked down along the window, while Colin just thought about it a little bit, and the god's telekinesis-psychokinesis fed back the detected situation into his mind. I saw that in the block 2 blocks away from here, 5 people were fighting together, causing a big riot. A fire man, a rubber man, a stone man and an invisible woman, the 4 are teaming up to fight against a metal man in a green robe and covered in bent metal. Although the 4 teamed up to besiege the metal man, they didn't have any advantage. On the contrary, the metal man was extremely sharp, and instead beat the 4 men. It's really noisy. There was a constant rumble outside. Colin couldn't help but plucked his ears, and said impatiently. Tony was about to drive the Mark armor to stop the battle, but was stopped by Colin. Forget it, your armor is too slow to drive, by the time you rush over, the opponent is almost finished fighting, let's see me. Then he stood up and turned into a rainbow that pierced through the wall, and flew towards that block at high speed. At the moment, a block away from the new Stark building. The Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom are fighting. To talk about the grievances between the two parties, we have to start from a few months ago. At that time, Reed's lifelong dream seemed to be within reach. The team he led was approaching the center of the cosmic storm in outer space in a spaceship, where he would obtain a large amount of data, decipher the secrets of human genetic inheritance, and use it to benefit the entire world. People, class. But due to the government's unlimited budget cuts, the flight almost came to naught, and it was not until Reed accepted the conditional support of his college rival, billionaire Doom, that he was able to join his companions. Finish this time, flight plan. However, during the flight, Reed found that he had miscalculated the speed of the cosmic storm, and the spacecraft was engulfed by violent cosmic rays in an instant. These strong radiations instantly changed the DNA of the team members, and at the same time changed their lives. Since then, they have been called 5 extraordinary people with super abilities. Super ability is a double-edged sword. People who get it will make different choices because of the good and evil in their hearts. This has been a constant topic of superheroes since ancient times. Reed, Johnny, Ben, and Susan choose to be kind. And Dumb, who has evil thoughts, has become their opposite, incarnate as Doctor Doom, hoping to use his super ability to cause disasters everywhere and surpass all living beings. Because of the conflict between the concepts of good and evil, the battle between the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom is inevitable. Doctor Doom is wreaking havoc on the block. People fled in panic amid screams. "Stop it, Doom. Now I'm Doctor Doom." The Fantastic Four are dressed in battle suits, and attack Doctor Doom in a tacit understanding with each other. The Stone Man charged forward. And Mr. Fantastic and Thunderbolt are attacking from both sides. As for the Invisible Girl Susan, she is stealthy and escaping, supporting her from the sidelines. The Stone Man's rock-solid fist hit Doctor Doom first, but Doctor Doom had an indestructible metal body as an armed defense around him, which stunned the surging blow. Doctor Doom snorted coldly, pulled out a lamppost from the road, and swung it out fiercely, causing the Stone Man to fly backwards. At the same time, Mr. Fantastic and Human Torch attacked. Mr. Fantastic turned into a piece of soft rubber cloth and wrapped around Doctor Doom, imprisoning him so that he could not move, while Human Torch hovered high in the sky with raging flames all over his body, and the blazing fireballs were like fire it rained down. Doctor Doom waved his hands, arcs flickered all over his body, and a tyrannical high-voltage electric current surrounded his body, dancing around like a silver snake, treating himself as a conductor, and blasted Mr. Fantastic into the air. The Human Torch in the sky was also struck by the electric current, and fell to the ground with a howl. And even if Susan could create a protective shield, it would be difficult for her to support herself at this moment. The four looked at each other in blank dismay. His body is also covered with a layer of mysterious cosmic metal, which is difficult to decipher. And it can also release a domineering and weird electric current. The whole person is like a moving electric current field, which makes people hard to guard against. Doctor Doom's whole body is covered with a layer of mysterious cosmic metal, like a tortoise shrunk in a hard shell. People have nowhere to start, coupled with the domineering electric current, it is really difficult to deal with. Just when they were at a loss, a tall figure appeared out of nowhere in the block. Because his back was facing the Fantastic Four couldn't see his face clearly. "Who are you? I advise you not to meddle in your own business." Doctor Doom was immersed in the joy and pride of defeating the Fantastic Four. When he saw the sudden appearance of a figure, he couldn't help being slightly taken aback. "Originally, I really didn't bother to take care of your affairs, but you shouldn't act recklessly here." Colin punched out without any explanation. Lightning speed fist. With a shout, Colin's fist turned into a thunderbolt, and the lion's tooth, which was like the speed of light, blasted out super fast. Because of the Leo Golden Holy Clothes, Colin has blessed Iolia's inherited fighting methods and boxing, and coupled with the realm of physical ultrasound, can burst out tyrannical power in an instant. Although it's not like the peak Iolia can throw hundreds of millions of punches in an instant, but tens of millions of punches are not difficult. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. Chi chi chi. In an instant, the ultra-high speed of light fist broke through the limit, and the sound of sonic boom rang out one after another in an instant. The power is concentrated in one point and compressed into an ultra-high density ball, which appears as a ball of lightning energy when shot. The fierce fist wind rolled and stirred in all directions, and a huge amount of air vortex also rose into the sky. Even the void is about to shatter into turmoil, and the root of the turmoil lies in Colin's fist shining with gold lightning. Next moment, Dr. Doom, who was shrouded in lightning and light-speed fist, his metal body was useless, his body was pierced by the violent fist shadow instantly and became riddled with holes. Silver blood spurted out from thousands of wounds, pieces of bones were shattered, and the internal organs in the body were crushed into pieces like a river and sea. It was horrible, and finally passed out directly. Instant kill. So scary. Hiss. All those who witnessed this appalling scene couldn't help but gasp. What just happened? I only saw an afterimage flashing past, and then the metal monster in the green robe fell down. It was as simple and easy as killing chickens and dogs. It's really unbelievable. This person is several grades stronger than the Fantastic Four. To be precise, it's a difference between Cloud and Mud. He is a well-deserved divine grade hero. People don't talk too much, and the Japanese fist will overthrow them. Oh my god, it's Colin Stark. Who else has such fighting power except him? Shocked. Thriller. Chills down the spine. There is also unparalleled admiration. The passers-by were full of amazement, and after a while, they took out their mobile phones and cameras to take pictures of Colin. Even the Fantastic Four were dumbfounded. From the appearance of this person to the defeat of Dr. Doom, there was no more than a second from the beginning to the end. Although only one back can be seen, Susan can vaguely recognize that it is Colin's figure. Susan's eyes were bubbling, like a nympho. However, before everyone could react, Colin was already grabbing the fainted Dr. Doom like a chicken, and disappeared in place with a swish. Next moment, Colin reappeared in the reception room of the Stark building, throwing the unconscious Dr. Doom away like garbage. The shock on Tony's face was fleeting, and he was used to Colin's abnormal strength, even a little numb. However, Nick Fury apparently still rarely witnessed Colin's terrifying fighting power. He looked at the fainted Dr. Doom on the ground, and then at the calm Colin, and swallowed deeply. Eye sockets that were about to burst were full of astonishment and shock. By the way, what did you say just now? Do you agree or object to the conditions I put forward? If you can't agree, don't force it. Colin dusted off the dust that wasn't there. Said flatly to Nick Fury. Witnessing the terrifying fighting power displayed by Colin, Nick Fury swallowed deeply, finally suppressed the surprise in his heart, and then nodded like a pounding. No problem, everything will be done according to the conditions you proposed. Quote. Does he dare to have any objections? If he dares to say a word of no, his head may be twisted off. Definitely, the most important thing is that there is a top player like Colin, which is enough to make up for the lack of Avengers, and the price paid is worth it. And on the first day Colin joined the Avengers Alliance, he gave Dr. Doom as a big gift to S.H.I.E.L.D., which can be regarded as a generous gift. Big brother, you are welcome to join the Avengers. In the future, after your countless titles, there will be another title of Avengers Captain. Tony opened his arms, wanting to give Colin, 683, a big bear hug. You guys have to work hard too, don't hold me back when it's critical. Colin couldn't stand Tony's congratulatory way, so he patted his arms away, and at the same time said jokingly. But as Tony said, Colin will also have his own place in this superhero team in the future. Two flowers bloom, each representing a branch. The Phoenix Force incident came to an end for the time being, but the rampage of the Phoenix Force has caused considerable aftermath in the Milky Way and even the entire universe. Its rampage was like a cluster of dazzling lights ignited in the dark and deep cosmic starry sky, instantly attracting the attention of many dimensional forces. Dark dimension. This place is filled with endless darkness. This place is a collection of countless black holes, as if it is covered upside down by a boundless black pot. You can't see your fingers, and even the light of countless tiny planets is covered. A spirit body wrapped in black ghostly fire, only revealing sinister and ferocious eyes. He is none other than Dormammu, the Lord of the Dark Dimension. At this moment, Dormammu's eyes penetrated tens of millions of time and space, peeping at the fleeting Phoenix Force in the earth, and a hint of greed flashed in his eyes. Dormammu murmured hoarsely and lowly, there are still fragments of Phoenix Force in that planet. It is really too tempting. No wonder Ancient One will do everything possible to prevent my intrusion. However, Ancient One, can you stop me once or twice? Can you successfully stop me every time? Servant of Darkness, quickly cast that taboo secret code, and let me descend on this fertile planet Bar. A hoarse curse resounded in the dark dimension, containing coldness and evil, and even the servants of darkness became agitated. Realm of Hell. Here is a scarlet color that can't be seen at a glance, the devil growls, the ghosts howl, and the breath of despair and depression is everywhere. The demon Mo Faith sits on the throne of the undead, surrounded by countless undead and evil spirits around him. Someone suppressed the rampage of the Phoenix Force. It's really a pity, otherwise with the rampage of the Phoenix Force, people will be devastated, and even the planet will be burned to the ground, so there will be countless dead souls. Speaking of which, I haven't been to the lower realms in my duplication. The previous Ghost Rider is almost exhausted, and now it's time to trick humans into signing a contract and cultivate a brand new Ghost Rider, Gia Gia. Mo Faith murmured sullenly. Moto Faith is a notorious demon in the cosmic dimension. He can trap living beings in his domain, which is hell, and he is famous for capturing souls. The strength of part of Faith's power is related to the region he is in. The longer he leaves hell, the weaker his ability will be, so he cannot leave the realm of hell for a long time. If he wants to capture more souls, he needs to sign a contract with creatures in other dimensions so that he can train his own agents, and let them help him collect souls from all over the universe and then capture them in this realm of hell. Now, the rampage of the Phoenix Force made him want to move again. Milky Way. The vast Milky Way has a diameter of 80,000 light-years and contains 120 billion fixed stars, from the beginning of time until now. Galactus stands on top of the galaxy. As the five creation gods, Galactus is the only survivor after the Big Bang before the birth of the initial universe. The original Han Song and not the entire Marvel universe. Even he himself doesn't know how long he has survived in this universe. And the way he survives is to obtain unknown energy from a specific planet to maintain his life. In short, he wants to devour the planet, which is its energy source, and the title of the planet devourer is derived from this come. Having not found an edible planet for a long time, he is now hungry and eager to devour a new planet. Unexpectedly, there are Phoenix Force fragments on the Earth. The last time I absorbed the fragments of the Phoenix Force was hundreds of thousands of years ago. Looking back now, it's really delicious. Thinking up to this point, Planet swallowed and closed his eyes, and then looked at a silver figure covered in mercury as if in front of him. Silver Surfer, it's time for you to serve me. Go to the Earth to find the way for me. I want to know whether it can really be swallowed there. As ordered. Silver Surfer nodded expressionlessly. Silver Surfer's real name is Norin Rider. He is a young spaceman in the outer galaxy planet Zenla. Suddenly one day Galactus descended on Zenla, and he warned all the residents that this planet has been chosen as the food for the devourers of the planet. Norin tried to negotiate terms with Galactus. He begged Galactus to let go of his home planet. The price was that Silver Surfer would serve Galactus forever and help him find planets suitable for food. After weighing the pros and cons, Galactus still accepted the conditions of the Silver Surfer, and gave him a powerful cosmic power. The moment Norin came into contact with this power, a layer of silver shell immediately appeared on his body, and it disappears completely together with memory, good and evil, conscience, morality, etc., and turns into the well-known Silver Surfer. After confirming the approximate location of the Earth, the Silver Surfer immediately stepped on the silver surfboard, surpassed the speed of light with all his strength, turned into a dazzling stream of light across the starry sky, and disappeared on the top of the Milky Way in a blink of an eye. After a few days, at a SHIELD press conference, Nick Fury announced to the outside world that Colin Stark officially joined the Avengers, while the United States Captain Steve took the initiative to abdicate, giving Colin the command and leadership of the alliance. This also means that Colin has become the captain of Avengers. For a while, this news caused a sensation inside and outside like a blockbuster. The addition of Colin has undoubtedly raised the strength of Avengers to a higher level, like a booster, which not only inspires the superheroes, but also deters Xiao Xiao. However, some people suspect that this move is indirectly expanding the influence of Stark Enterprise. After all, both Colin and Tony belong to the Stark family. Under such circumstances, there are naturally many conspiracy theories, but none of these can prevent Avengers from showing a brand new look in front of the world under the leadership of Colin. In the following time, Shaw lived in Colin's villa. In the years since he came to the world of Marvel 15, Susan the Invisible Girl and Phoenix Jean Grey are the two people Colin interacts with the most, and they are also considered Colin's taboo. Susan has a gentle personality, knowledgeable and reasonable, and she has created an elegant and gentle temperament while studying in an institution of higher learning. Besides, Jean Grey, because she was closed by the Phoenix Force since she was a child, she has never revealed her heart to others except her mentor Professor X, but Colin is an accident. In fact, Jean Grey's heart, which has been closed for a long time, is an extremely wild heart, just like a long dry field longing for rainwater. Being alone with Colin is even more like meeting fire, which is out of control. Phoenix Force won't suddenly go berserk at this time, right? Just when the two couldn't describe it, Jean Grey pursed her lips tightly and said with some concerns. Don't worry, Phoenix Force is not endless, just like a volcano will enter a period of dormancy and incubation after an eruption. Colin gently scratched Jean Grey's nose, and said with a light smile. Besides, things in this world are mutual generation and mutual restraint, and sooner or later a solution will be found. The magnetic voice came to the ear, as if it had some kind of magical power, which made Jean Grey's worried heart relax. I don't know why, but since staying with Colin, Jean Grey feels particularly relaxed and at ease, as if all worries have been swept away. Time flies, and the white horse passes by. Half a year passed by in the blink of an eye. During this period, Colin temporarily slowed down his practice progress, and spent more time enjoying life and being with his beautiful woman. When Susan learned that there was another woman by Colin's side, she felt a little resentful in her heart, but she also knew in her heart that it was impossible for an excellent person like Colin to fall in love with a single flower, so she gradually accepted this reality. Perhaps because of their congenial temperament, Susan and Jean Grey have become good sisters, and they can get along with each other harmoniously, without causing any trouble to Colin. Finally, the Marvel world is as nuclear as ever. The confrontation between the pros and the villains also happened from time to time, but most of them were small fights within a local area, and there were no conflicts like the New York War. Coupled with a strong superhero team like S.H.I.E.L.D. and Avengers, this conflict can be suppressed within a controllable range. At the same time, with the successive completion of the delivery of Pacifist PX, the dispute between humans and mutant has not been upgraded, but has remained in a delicate state. Since no one can do anything to the other party, they sat down to discuss and signed a series of agreements and consensus. So in the past 6 months, the Marvel world has not been peaceful. On this day, the Stark Industry high-level meeting was held as scheduled. Under the auspices of Chairman Colin, most of the key members were also present. Tony and Ed Ryan from the Research Department. Legal Counsel Murdoch. Pepper from Financial Sales. Susan in the Product Department. Security Johnny. Back Office Mike. There are also shareholders and department heads with large file size and small file size. With the development of artificial intelligence and new energy, the company grew by 8.3% year-on-year in the last quarter. As usual, Pepper from the Financial Sales Department reported the performance of the previous quarter to everyone, and the momentum of development is still maintained. Our investment in artificial intelligence and new energy is indeed worthwhile. According to this trend, our market value may surpass Osborne Group in the near future, and we are just around the corner from Roxxon Petroleum Company. In the meeting room, everyone looked hot and responded enthusiastically, all immersed in joyful emotions. Only Colin, the chairman, looked indifferent, with no fluctuations in his expression. Brother, shouldn't we be happy that the company can have such benefits? Why don't we have a party today to relax? Tony lowered his voice and suggested to Colin, but before he finished speaking, he was met with a blank stare from Pepper from across the air, and Tony swallowed back what 100 said next. You guys don't think about parties every day. You need to exercise your weak body, because relying on steel armor may not be a good thing. Colin glanced at Tony speechlessly and said indifferently, then a pair of deep and wise eyes scanned the meeting room, and the originally noisy discussions immediately quieted down. There is an old saying in Shaw, which is called being prepared for danger in times of peace. When the company is developing well, It is necessary to think in advance of the crisis that may be encountered next, so there is nothing wrong with everyone's excitement, but you must also have a clear head. Getting up from the chair, Colin paced back and forth a few steps in the meeting room, fixed his eyes, and said in a different tone, with the rapid development of the company, the market within the inherent field should be divided up. In other words, everyone will inevitably encounter a bottleneck period. So I think it's time to change the way of thinking, and it's time to start the Stark 2.0 model. As soon as this remark came out, the farmer couldn't help but change his face. Stark 2.0 mode. Stark 2.0 model. This is the first time that Colin proposed at the meeting. Without exception, this is also a brand new concept. This may be another plan of the chairman in the ever-changing business world. Although the development of Stark is generally showing an upward trend, Colin is not too optimistic. In his view, according to such a high-speed development, the enterprise will encounter a bottleneck period sooner or later. The bigger the enterprise, the more crisis-conscious it is. Now they are close to saturation in the field of military industry, and artificial intelligence and new energy need to be further cultivated. This is a long process that will not be accomplished overnight. In this way, if we want to take the company to a higher level, we must broaden the development of other aspects. When everyone in the meeting room heard Colin's words, some felt that they were alarmist, while others were awakened. After all, as early as 10 years ago, under Colin's reform, Stark Industries reduced its investment in the military industry and turned to seize the opportunities of artificial intelligence and new energy. Facts have proved that Colin's decision was forward-looking, so it helped Stark avoid a lot of risks, and squeezed out a series of competitors such as Hanmer Military Industry and AIM in this decade, which fully shows that Colin's excellent wisdom and foresight. Chairman, what do you mean by the Stark 2.0 model? Ed Ryan couldn't hold back his doubts and asked. As soon as these words came out, Pepper, Susan, Johnny, Murdoch and others all sat upright and cast puzzled and curious burning gazes at Colin. Even Tony showed a rare solemn expression. Listen intently. Under the eyes of everyone, Colin folded his hands in front of his body and explained in a leisurely manner. The so-called Stark 2.0 mode is naturally an upgrade based on the original. Since the original field is gradually saturated, then we have to jump out of this comfort zone, expand rapidly, and seize the opportunities in other fields. For example, jewelry industry, clothing industry, logistics, biomedicine, entertainment industry and so on. Definitely wanting to enter these fields will definitely require a lot of capital investment, but it doesn't matter. The most important thing we Stark lack is money, whether it is the huge profits brought by the pacifist PX, or the holdings of PIM Technology, shares, not to mention the continuous and constantly profitable brought about by artificial intelligence and new energy. These are already more than enough. Speaking of this, Kay Linton paused, his eyes wandered over everyone, and then he continued, so what we need to do next is to acquire. Open roads in the mountains, build bridges in the water, and use money to build a broad avenue. The frustrating and forceful voice resounded in the conference room, with inspiring power, and at the same time, a magnificent blueprint seemed to be displayed in front of him. Everyone was full of excitement when they heard the words, and they all looked at Colin with respect and admiration. This way, we'll be able to expand in other areas, which is exciting just thinking about it. But wouldn't this move be a little risky? Which step in the market is risk-free? Just keep it within a controllable range. That's right. 10 years ago, it was because the chairman had an insight into the future development direction of technology in advance, so he changed his strategy in time. Now we can't rest on our laurels, we need to actively forge ahead, and opportunities are reserved for those who are prepared. Let's just go ahead and do it. I'm already dying to try it. Just imagine, when New York and even the whole of the United States are planted with our Stark corporate flag, what a spectacular sight it will be. Seeing the ebullition in the conference room, Colin's mouth curled up. Definitely besides acquisitions, I have another plan, which is to enter the entertainment industry. As you all know, online short videos and live broadcasts are becoming popular now, and this will undoubtedly be the current trend, so we must seize this opportunity. Hearing this, Murdoch, who was sitting on the left side of the conference table, nodded with deep emotion. Yes, even my teenage niece holds an iPad and watches the live broadcast with great interest every day, which is enough to show that the current short-term video and live streaming are all the rage, and now it's really meteors. Johnny. But now there are so many short video and live streaming apps, and the competition is fierce, how can we stand out? Colin said with a smile. Then how do you think we can highlight our own advantages? Following Colin's question, the people below began to discuss and express their opinions. Among them, Susan, after pondering for a while, brushed her golden hair and said, maybe superhero will be a good cut. Seeing this, Colin couldn't help but nodded approvingly. That's right, Susan, you've got the point. What I have to say is that Susan really went to an institution of higher learning and has a business mind. Her thinking is quick and lively, and she hits the point right away, which happens to coincide with Colin's thoughts. In fact, Kaylin has always wondered why no one is looking for superhero endorsement advertisements in the Marvel world, and there are huge amounts of business opportunities hidden in it. Therefore, Kaylin has always wanted to put this into practice, and finally he found that inviting superheroes to enter the social app is a good entry point. Yeah, why didn't I think of this? The eyes of the others lit up after a little thought, and they were overwhelmed. Since we want to make our own short video and live social software, it is natural to distinguish it from other products and highlight our own characteristics and advantages. And for Stark, what is their biggest advantage? That is, they have a huge superhero lineup within the company. Not to mention Colin. Just talk about other people in the company. Iron Man, Daredevil, Invisible Woman, Spider-Man. Even the Human Torch and the Golem in charge of security are well-known superheroes. In other words, these are all well-known big IPs. Although people like Daredevil and Spider-Man deliberately conceal their identities and do not want their identities to be exposed by the outside world, this does not prevent them from interacting with their fans on the internet through social apps. Not to mention, Colin and Tony are also core members of the Avengers Alliance, and they can rely on this to attract more superheroes to this app. Not only superheroes, even those villains can have a platform to show their abilities, as long as they don't cause trouble at will and the platform is well supervised, why not? Colin finally made a decision and said, that's it, Qian Zhao, is settled, we will make a social app that focuses on the concept of superhero. Tony rubbed the stubble of his chin, eager to try. Okay, if this app is released, I will definitely be the first to enter the platform, but what's the name for this app? After pondering for a moment, Colin said, let's call it Superman App. Superman App not only shows that this is an app with the concept of superhero, but also means to shorten the distance between superhero and common people. Murdoch, you should register the trademark and logo of this app, which should not be difficult for you as a legal advisor. Pepper, go find a few high-end computer talents to research and develop. As for the operation of this app, Susan from the entertainment department will be in charge. Soon Colin clearly assigned the division of labor to each task, and at the same time he was full of expectations for this social app and even Stark's prospect of entering the media music industry. With Colin's order, everyone is busy for this Superman App. Murdoch to register trademarks and logo. Susan is responsible for the operations of the business. The most critical thing is actually the research and development of app, which is developed by Pepper to find high-end talents in related fields. After searching around, Pepper found a person, that is Mr. Fantastic Reed. Reed Richards has been hailed as a child prodigy since he was a child. He has graduated from world-class universities such as Caltech, Harvard University, Columbia University, and Empire State University, to PhD. Because the inventions made are so powerful, he is known as the smartest person on Earth. As the saying goes, there is a sequence in hearing the truth, and there is a specialization in the art industry. If Tony is good at artificial intelligence and electromechanical fields, then Reed is more proficient in computer and software design. As a scientist dedicated to biology, Reed's lifelong wish is to crack the secret of human genetic inheritance, and he has been focusing on research in this area. Although Reed has made great achievements in this area over the years, he does not have much scientific sponsorship in this unpopular field, which is why Reed lives in poverty and financial constraints. Pepper sent Reed a 953 invitation to join. At first, Reed still had some hesitation, but seeing the unsustainable scientific research project and the difficult life, he had no choice but to temporarily give up his ideals and join Stark's scientific research department. If you want to realize your ideals, you must first fill your stomach. And just like that, Reed, the Human Torch, the Thing and Susan the Fantastic Four are working together again, and their bosses Totham turned Colin Stark. While various departments were preparing for Superman APP in full swing, Colin also asked people to collect a lot of information. Massive amounts of data are projected on the holographic screen, and are presented one by one as Colin's finger slides. These people are based on the list of superheroes and supervillains listed in Colin's previous life memories, many of whom have kept their names anonymous in order not to reveal their identities. For example, some people are students and lawyers on the surface, but behind the scenes, they are little Spider-Man and Daredevil who shuttle back and forth in the building. All Colin has to do is dig them out and see if he can invite them to join the Superman APP. Johnny Blazer. Johnny grew up with his father in the amusement park for a living on stunt BFDF speeding cars. His resolute and brave father has always been a role model for Johnny. His father once suffered from a terminal illness, and his body miraculously recovered the next day. However, there was a misfortune, and his father unexpectedly left this world during a performance the next day. After that, Johnny left the amusement park and went far away. After more than 10 years, Johnny has become a well-known motorcycle stunt driver. He once crossed 10 trucks on a motorcycle and broke the limit record of the speed industry several times. His stunt performances are extremely thrilling and exciting. Every time rushing shoulders with Death God, being called hot and strong by fans. Colin glanced over the information, couldn't help but focus his eyes, and murmured, "Hot Johnny, if I remember correctly, he is Ghost Rider. I don't know if the recent changes in the underworld are related to him. There are relationships." As a strong man with perfect Heavenly Father realm, Colin is able to understand the phenomena of heaven and earth, and observe the 3 realms and 6 domains. For some reason, there seems to be a change in the underworld recently. Countless undead are restless, and even ghosts have been reported in many places. Incident, and does it have something to do with this Ghost Rider? Boom boom boom. Accompanied by the roaring sound of the engine, a Harley-Davidson motorcycle with a stylish shape and flowing flames galloped on the deserted road outside the city. The driver of this Harley motorcycle is a skeleton knight with a strange fire all over his body, and a chain wrapped around his body, making a clang clang sound with the bumps of the road. Ghost Rider rode an evil spirit chariot through the night, wandering between hell and the world. The roar of the motor roared furiously, leaving a line of fire that clearly marked the light in the darkness. There will be a mess wherever the motorcycle passes, and there will be a fire mark on the road. After a while, the Harley stopped in front of a mass grave. In the mass grave, the unjust souls floating around condensed into a huge amounts of praying mantis-shaped undead monster. This is an undead monster that has condensed many wronged souls. It is very powerful. Johnny used hellfire and soul-binding chains to strangle this undead monster with difficulty. The exterminated undead turned into a ghost and was taken into the underworld. Having dealt with the undead monster here, Johnny walked to the evil spirit chariot and was about to turn back, but when he glanced at the side from the corner of his eye, his heart skipped a beat. Behind him, a figure appeared quietly. With sword eyebrows and star eyes, he is handsome and elegant, and the 10 rings in his hands are shining brightly. Colin Stark. Seeing this, Ghost Rider's pupils contracted suddenly, and the ghostly fire surrounding the skull's head condensed, and he vigilantly touched the soul-binding chains on his back. Ghost Rider is no stranger to the captain of the Avengers. "Man, you don't have to be so nervous, it's not like you're being fearless on a stunt stage, Johnny Blazer, is it? How do you know who I am?" There was a sense of incomprehension in Ghost Rider's hoarse and deep words. There may be lucky people in this world who can escape Death God's trial by luck, but not every time they can pass Death God, unless this person has a relationship with Death God or Hell Lord Mo Faith signed a contract to sell his soul. Colin twitched the corners of his lips, and said lightly, his eyes flickering brightly. Johnny was originally a motorcycle stunt driver. In order to save his adoptive father suffering from cancer, he made a deal with the devil Faith and was possessed by evil spirits. He became a Ghost Rider who avenges innocent people. He has the power to control hellfire and can the eye of judgment that makes evil feel pain. He is the spirit of vengeance, the spirit of judgment. Colin Stark, I know that you are a very shrewd businessman, and you can't afford to lose money, but I shouldn't be able to bring you any benefits, right? Ghost Rider took a deep breath, his eyes sunken deep in the skull focused on Colin, trying to find some clues from his expression. Yes, you are useless to me, but you can bring benefits to my Stark Enterprise. My company has recently developed a social app, and I am inviting some people with supernatural powers to join. If you can live broadcast motorcycle stunts on it, there should be a great market. If you think about it, call me. Facing Ghost Rider's bewildered eyes, Colin directly explained his purpose of coming, and handed out his business card at the same time. You know, Johnny's original stunt performances are famous for their thrills and are very entertaining, but the performance on the stunt stage is limited by the stage and venue. After all, there are limitations. But if Johnny can live broadcast on Superman app, I believe it will definitely attract countless fans to watch. In this way, it can not only attract traffic to Superman app, but also improve Johnny's reputation further, so this is a great deal for both parties. Mutually beneficial. Ghost Rider took the business card from Colin's hand with a pensive look on his face. As Colin said, his stunt performance has many limitations due to the limited stage space. Even if there is a TV broadcast, it will have little effect. After all, with the development of science and technology, everyone's entertainment methods have not only stayed on TV, but have poured more into online platforms. It can be said that the hot spot of the network has become the current weathervane. Ghost Rider put away his business card, saying that he would think about it carefully. At the same time, the atmosphere on the scene eased up a bit, and Ghost Rider gradually let go of his guard. By the way, recently I can feel a change in the underworld. What does this mean? Colin looked up at the ghosts and monsters flooding under the night, and then at Ghost Rider, whose spirit of vengeance was growing, and asked doubtfully. After hesitating for a moment, Ghost Rider sighed and replied, in the final analysis, it's all because of faith. Is that the death god? Ghost Rider nodded with a complicated expression. That's right, it was him. It was under his bewitching that I signed the contract and was sent by him. Faith is a demon. He is famous for capturing souls. He usually cultivates his own Ghost Rider in various dimensions by signing a contract. And the task of our Ghost Rider is to capture the undead for him. Unknowingly, Faith's desire for souls has become stronger and stronger. He is no longer satisfied with the undead we captured for him, and even wants to harvest the undead from the lower world constantly. Hearing what Ghost Rider said, Colin raised his eyebrows slightly. He still has some understanding of Mo Faith. He is the Lord of Hell, which is equivalent to the King of Hades in the Chinese mythology system, controlling the undead in hell, and a Ghost Rider like Johnny is like running an errand for the King of Hades' black and white impermanence. And behind Moto Faith is Death, who is known as one of the 5 creation gods. Death is the source, creator and manipulator of all living souls in the multi-universe. Represents the manifestation of the concrete form of the end of all life in the multi-universe. She is the creator and master of the death god, Hades, Hell King, Hell Lord of all myths legendary. It represents the specific manifestation of the end of all life in the multi-universe, and even the ultimate of the entire multi-universe. In other words, death is the master of the ultimate underworld of the universe, and there are many death gods like Moto Faith under her command. Leaving aside, let's just say that Thanos in the parallel universe killed all directions in the Marvel universe because he was instigated and bewitched by death. Let a hero like Thanos follow her lead, and the means of death can be seen from this. What made Moto Faith so eager to harvest the undead? Is it the purpose of death? According to the information obtained from Ghost Rider, Colin's mind was filled with thoughts, and he couldn't help murmuring. An inexplicable premonition faintly arose in his heart. Since Colin gave instructions at the high-level meeting, Stark started the 2.0 mode. The next thing to do is to develop around 2 cores, one is the acquisition, and the other is the preparation of Superman app. These 2 things are undoubtedly the most important. First, the investment department screens out potential companies suitable for acquisition on a global scale. Then the negotiating team composed of Pepper, Mike and others went to negotiate and acquired it at the lowest price. If the other party does not accept the acquisition, then invest in his competitor instead, further squeeze the other party's living space, and finally achieve the goal of cannibalizing and annexing. As for money, Colin is not worried at all. You must know that the success of the military product Pacifist PX alone has brought more than 600 billion net profits to the company, and this value will continue to grow over time. Class. Coupled with the great success of a series of artificial intelligence products, there is also a large amount of cash flow brought by the reduction of shares in PIM technology. At the moment, Stark is already quite deep both in terms of size and heritage. Say 1,000 words and 10,000, the secret of the acquisition is to spend money. As long as the money is in place, nothing can't be done. Open a road in the mountains, build a bridge in the water. Stark will grow wildly with an unstoppable momentum, and quickly seize the opportunity in other fields. At the same time, preparations for the Superman app are also underway, and this is Stark's first step into the entertainment industry. Take Kusan app, which ranks first in the application market now. For example, its success lies in R&D and operation. In other words, these 2 points are indispensable for all apps to be successful. Developing an app is very simple for Mr. Fantastic Reed, who has the title of the smartest person in Blue Star. It is nothing more than optimizing system settings and improving user experience on the basis of the original similar apps. The key is to operate. In Colin's vision, it is to create a social app that includes fun and real-time interaction, and has both short video and live broadcast functions. Compared with similar products, its characteristics and core competitiveness lie in the entry of superhero. Use familiar big IPs to open market entry. So in the early stage of operation, it is necessary to sign some superheroes with their own traffic, such as Johnny, a stunt expert, popular superhero Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Steve, the representative of the main theme. In addition, there is absolutely no shortage of beautiful women like Black Widow, who will undoubtedly add a touch of beauty to the landscape. After all, many people watch the live broadcast just to interact with their favorite idols. The role of Superman app is to allow users to watch a variety of short videos and live broadcast content without leaving home. They can not only interact with the superheroes they admire, but also have access to a wider world. In order to seize the opportunity, Stark quickly signed many superheroes with his unique resources. Iron Man, Daredevil, Vulture, Captain of the United States, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Mr. Fantastic, Human Torch, Stone Man, Invisible Woman, Ghost Rider and more. Colin's requirements for these superheroes are very simple, that is, to ensure a certain degree of exposure and mystery. If a star wants to stay popular in the entertainment industry, he needs to reduce his exposure and properly hype up scandals. This method is also applicable to superhero. It is worth mentioning that Steve, the Captain of the United States, who is nearly 100 years old in actual age, actually still stays in the 1950s and 1960s, so he instinctively resists these new things, but he still promises to participate every week. Some short videos and live broadcasts will be released for a fixed period of time. 0. In a world as intricate and well-informed as Marvel, a lot of news spreads quite quickly. As time passed, news of Stark's foray into entertainment and social applications soon spread like wildfire. An advanced golf course. Norman Osborn and Harry Osborn are playing golf. Harry answered a phone call, and then whispered a few words into Norman's ear with a solemn face. What? Stark also wants to enter the social application field. Huh, so what? We can also use money to invite traffic stars and superheroes to settle in. Could this piece of cake be snatched away by others? Norman Osborn said with a snort. As a biopharmaceutical group, Osborn Group focuses on biomedicine, and its sidelines are arms and social applications. The reason why Norman will invest in social applications is because of his son Harry. Different from the ordinary rich second generation, Harry not only has several PhD degrees at a young age, but also has a great business mind and a keen judgment on new things. 2 years ago, he designed and developed a Kusan app, which has both short video and live broadcast functions, and it quickly became popular after it was put into the market. This made Norman Osborn keenly aware of the business opportunities inside, and increased investment, so that the Kupu app dominated the download list and hot list of the App Store for a long time. How could Norman hand over the market he finally occupied, so he immediately took a series of actions and measures, trying to kill Stark's plan to enter the social application field in the cradle. Regarding the preparation of Superman APP, everything is proceeding step by step. Just the initial investment has reached tens of billions of dollars. In less than a month, Reed finally developed and completed the Superman APP. The smooth and fast system, the concise and lively interface, all show the design concept of simplicity and rich connotation. It is worth mentioning that its logo was designed by Colin, which is the classic shape of Superman wearing underwear pants outside. At first glance, it gives people a bright feeling. Immediately afterwards, it came to the stage of publicity and operation, and Susan and Pepper were responsible for this aspect. More than a dozen superheroes, including Spider-Man and Ghost Rider, have signed contracts, and they will also become the first batch of superheroes to enter Superman APP. After Definitely's official launch, it will further invite more superheroes to settle in, so as to expand the scale of 377, so as to attract more fans and users, and gradually build it into a stable fan circle. With the completion of the research and development of Superman APP, the company quickly put it on the online schedule. After passing the review of the application market, it opened the appointment reminder. At the same time, Susan also contacted many advertising companies and video media for targeted advertising, targeting young users. Relying on Colin's Avengers status, the cost of signing the major superheroes is very low. Except for students from poor families like Spider-Man Peter Parker who will pay more, the rest of the superheroes are almost all joining in Friendship Woolen Cloth. In this way, the saved signing fee can be invested in advertising to the greatest extent. You must know that the great sales of Pacifist PX is largely due to the huge effect brought by advertising, so Colin has always invested heavily in advertising. Calendar. As for the content of the advertisement, it definitely emphasizes the first social app built with superhero as the star group, which is beyond doubt. Although in the Marvel world, news about superheroes fighting for justice is not uncommon. But for most people, they are legendaries that appear on newspapers and news reports, always with a veil of mystery, which inevitably gives people a sense of separation and alienation. The emergence of Superman APP is to shorten the relationship between superhero and common people, so that they can interact and communicate better, thus creating a good atmosphere. Definitely, superhero is not just a gimmick, but a real short video and live broadcast content. Do you want to see Spider-Man working at heights to wipe the glass and keep the building clean? Arrange. Want to see Ghost Rider riding a cool ghost tank, performing a gravity-defying vertical rush to a building, or a stunt leap across two mountains? Arrange. Want to see Hawkeye's sharp shooting skills and spectacular arrow firework performance? Arrange. Want to see the first-person view of Iron Man in the Mark armor, and experience the thrill of manipulating the armor? Arrange. Want to see the United States Captain Steve perform a bare-handed catch? And a cool round shield? Arrange. Want to watch Black Widow dance ballet, show graceful and moving, breathtaking dance? Arrange. Want to see the Stone Man crushing boulders in his chest and lifting the truck with bare hands? Arrange. All in all, for superheroes, there are only things they can't imagine, but there is nothing they can't do. The content that can be used as short videos and live broadcasts is also all-encompassing and has everything that one expects to find, as if opening the door to a new world, where there are many novelties and shocks presented in front of users. All of these are the key points to be highlighted in advertising, which is tantamount to being extremely visually impactful and attractive. In the Marvel world, superheroes all exist with their own stories and IP. Therefore, Superman APP has already gained a lot of popularity before it was launched. In the application store and even the major forums, many people have started discussions around it. Hey, Superman APP, what is this? Stark Industries has actually entered into social applications. Is this breaking through the dimensional wall? OMG, there are so many superheroes on a certain platform at the same time, it's really unprecedented. Could it be that these superheroes are all for Colin's sake? Yeah, maybe there's no one with that much power, except Colin Stark. Personally, I am still optimistic about the Kusan app. After all, no matter how attractive superhero is, they are just a gimmick. If there is any real content, this is an era where content is king. Oh, this is really crazy. Superheroes will also shoot short videos and do live broadcasts. This is too close to the people. It seems that Stark's entry into the social application field is aggressive. It was such a big deal at first, and it really fits their style. However, the Kusan app is also gaining momentum, and recently they seem to be frequently inviting traffic stars to settle in. It seems that these two apps are incompatible, and there must be a battle. Hey, the people who eat melons said they like to watch the excitement the most. I will apply. Just a weak question, can you see the upright captain of the United States wearing women's clothing? I am looking forward to it. The one upstairs can tell it's an old lady dressed as a boss. The captain of the United States wearing women's clothing. That picture, just thinking about it makes people feel sour. Iron Man will also be in Superman app. This guy is so stinky. But I like it. Punch in and sign in, and look forward to the app going online as soon as possible. The topic and popularity of Superman app continue to rise. Even those who are not interested in superhero are paying special attention to this social app battle between Stark Group and Osborn Group. After more than half a month of publicity and promotion, on this day, Superman app is also officially launched in the App Store. For a time, countless users poured into the mall and clicked to download. At this moment, Colin is also watching the latest developments through the background of Superman app. Real-time data shows that the first superhero to register an account is Spider-Man Peter Parker. What I have to say is that little Spider-Man is really young at heart. 0.2 Although he is already well-known in the superhero world, he is still a cheerful 16-year-old boy who is interested in new things like short videos. And his amazing hand speed is not covered. At the same time, Colin followed the other party's avatar and clicked in, and just refreshed to a short video uploaded by the other party. In the short video of more than 10 seconds, Spider-Man first said confidently to the camera that he would show everyone his cobweb ability. And then, with a fierce operation, he ejected from his wrist cobweb tied itself up. Definitely a sand sculpture video. Seeing this, Colin almost didn't laugh. His backhand was a thumbs up, and at the same time he commented, "Awesome, little Spider-Man, I can see that you are a cocoon." With the official launch of the Superman app, the first superhero to register an account is Spider-Man, and he also uploaded a sand sculpture video quite amusingly, which instantly attracted many likes, comments and reposts. Immediately afterwards, superheroes such as Iron Man, Ghost Rider, etc. also settled in. They also all uploaded the short videos they had taken before, which can be regarded as the first show on Superman app. At the same time, netizens who learned about this app through many channels also flocked to the App Store to download it at the moment of the appointment reminder in the App Store. Thompson is a white-collar worker working on Wall Street. He is busy working in the financial industry every day, dealing with numbers, and he is very tired. In my spare time, I watch short videos to pass the time, and occasionally shoot some short videos by myself for comfort. After negotiating a contract with a client, Thompson was sitting in a coffee shop feeling bored. With the sound of ding, an appointment reminder popped up in the App Store on the phone. I forgot, today is the official launch date of the Superman app. I don't know if this app is really different from other similar products, as he said. Driven by curiosity, Thompson quickly downloaded the app. A Superman wears underpants, and a huge amounts of S-shaped app icon printed on the front of the body catches the eye, which is very recognizable. There are no cumbersome advertisements and loading process. After clicking in, there is a simple and clear background. In the next second, a short video of Spider-Man cocooning himself pops up. PFF'd, this Spider-Man is too funny. Yuanren was tied up by the cobweb that popped up by him. Just halfway through watching this short video, the corners of Thompson's mouth couldn't help but rise, and the coffee in his mouth almost spewed out. It stands to reason that he has been exposed to a lot of short video jokes before and after, and has a certain aesthetic fatigue, but it is the first time he has seen superhero make jokes. You know, generally in people's impressions, Spider-Man is a heroic and powerful image. But in this funny joke, Spider-Man is quite funny, showing a sense of contrast, as if falling from the clouds to the ground, it is no longer so mysterious, but more friendly to the people. After watching this video 3 or 4 times, Thompson came across the next video, and his heart skipped a beat. What the hell is this scaring me? In the picture, Ghost Rider is at the foot of the mountain, covered in ghostly flames. He gives a thumbs up to the camera. With the roar of the engine, Ghost Rider rides the evil spirit chariot from the foot of the mountain along a steep road. Winding trails ride up to the summit. The most exciting thing is that he finally stretched his horsepower to the limit, and then flew out on the evil spirit chariot, ignoring the gravity of the earth. In the blink of an eye, he covered a distance of more than 200 meters and appeared on another mountain. The appearance of Ghost Rider is a bit scary and infiltrating. Coupled with this difficult speed car jumping over the top of the mountain, it is even more thrilling, exciting. On to the next video. I saw that Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, who has always shown people with a crisp and heroic image, unexpectedly wore an evening dress uncharacteristically, and even danced a graceful and moving dance under the brightly lit stage, which made people feast their eyes. After watching it several times, Thompson couldn't help but like and forward it and left a message below saying, "Oh, the appearance of Avengers Alliance is really beautiful. I think it would be a good idea for you to retire from SHIELD and start a dance training class. Good choice." In the short video content of Superman APP, you can see the funny side of superhero, there are wonderful talent shows, and there are thrilling and exciting performances. All kinds of content are all inclusive and readily available. Thompson watched the videos one by one. The more interesting he watched, the more interesting he couldn't stop. At the same time, he gave this app to his good partners to share the fun of watching short videos with them. On the first day of its launch, Superman APP had 230,000 downloads on the App Store, and it ranked 17th on the download list of the day. Such a first-day result is quite satisfactory, neither a big hit nor a bad one. Then it rose steadily. 290,000, 350,000, 410,000. On the fourth day of launch, the total downloads exceeded 1 million. This result is not amazing. You must know that the Kusan app, which ranks first in the download list of social applications, has nearly 600,000 downloads a day. First of all, Kusan app has been launched as early as a year ago, taking the lead in seizing the short video app market, which can be said to be preconceived. Secondly, in order to vigorously promote the Kusan app, Osborne Group also spent a lot of money to invite many traffic stars, and promised to give them a contract to endorse its products. Therefore, Kusan app can come out on top. However, with the passage of time, the downloads and popularity of both parties have also begun to show subtle changes. The initial downloads of Superman APP were not too many, because the exposure of superhero was not too much, so it is a fixed group of young fans who really love superhero. Although these people don't have strong spending power, they are very enthusiastic about superheroes, even to the point of fanaticism. They feel delighted and excited when they think of interacting with the superhero they admire. At the same time, the wonderful live broadcast content on Superman app also brought them a brand new viewing experience. In view of these two reasons, they started to serve as free tap water, and started to recommend this product crazily among their friends and social platforms. Even if the number of downloads is not high, it can be compensated by user activity and fan stickiness. Under such circumstances, the download retention rate and DOE of Superman APP have been steadily increasing. On the other hand, Kusan app, although it used the method of spending money to attract many users for a short time, but because of the serious homogenization of videos and the influx of new content, although their download volume is high, but after downloading there are not a few who have uninstalled, and the increase in download retention rate and daily activity is very limited. It is worth mentioning that the comment areas under the short videos of major superheroes are also extremely popular. Some of them let Spider-Man climb Mount Everest, and some let Ghost Rider and F1 racers compete for the fastest speed. Definitely the most vocal, I still want to see the Captain of the United States, Steve, in women's clothing. After all, Steve has always presented a brave, masculine and hot-blooded image. What kind of picture would it be if there was a contrasting image? Just thinking about it is very eye-catching. For a while, the likes of Steve wearing women's clothing also increased rapidly, surpassing 1 million likes in less than 2 days. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.